The Last Adventure of Shay Blaze by Howard Friedkin. Fade in, exterior beach, night, 1874. Under the brilliance of the moon, the shimmering black tide crashes against a strange, imposing rock formation close to shore. A campfire burns vigorously, flickering a rash of red embers all about. Some of the embers ascend higher into the air, brushing over the view of the immense starlit sky where a cluster of incoming bright lights pulsate erratically. Dewey Mitchell, late 50s, folds back his Indian blanket and rises to his feet. He wears a pair of worn-out drawers and clutches a whiskey bottle. He stands next to his horse, clothes and gear packed on the saddle. Dewey's eyes are riveted to the astounding sight in the sky.
Now what in good Lord's eyes you suppose that is, Dimplebutt?
Even his faithful horse is spooked by the lights and sounds of the inbound saucer. The propulsion stirs up a twister of sand as the ship's powerful searchlight probes the beach. Dewey and his horse are lost in the sandstorm in the blinding spotlight. Exterior beach, day. Sunrise. The exhausted campfire smolders. Dewey is nestled inside his Indian blanket. He drowsily awakens and struggles to stand up. 3 empty whiskey bottles fall out of the blanket. His bloodshot eyes search the sky, but he quickly gets miserably dizzy and loses his balance. The intoxicated old goat falls flat on his back and expels a hefty belch. Exterior, a traditional Western town. Entrance, day. The large archway sign reads, "Welcome to Sea Meadow City. Population, peaceful." Interior, Sheriff's Office, day. Sheriff Warner Huxton, mid-50s, sits at his desk enjoying fried chicken for breakfast. His disposition is harsher than a fresh hot pot of his bitter coffee. The 3-cell jailhouse contains 1 prisoner, Billy Tucker, a spunky youth near 20. He grips the bars of his cell door.
Like my mom's chicken?
Best recipe I've tasted.
Choke on it, you scummy spit two-faced murderer.
Huxton drops a plump drumstick, his face fumes with anger. He gets up and grabs the jail keys off the wall behind him, along with a bullwhip. He storms over to Billy. Billy moves as far back as he can go.
You're out of room, boy, and I'm out of patience.
He fits a key into the lock and clicks it open.
I'm gonna whip you till I see bone, boy.
He cracks the whip and swings the cell door open. Just then, the office door flies open. Dewey stumbles in, still dressed in his soiled drawers.
Sheriff, my horse Dimplebutt was taken from me last night. You gotta help me get her back.
Consider yourself lucky to be alive, for now.
He locks Billy's cell and returns to his desk.
Look at you running around like that. You look like a pigsty that hasn't been cleaned up in ages.
He hangs the jail keys and bullet back on the wall and sits. Dewey hangs over the sheriff's desk.
Everything I had in the world was tied to Dimplebutt. I think she was kidnapped by folks way out somewhere from another planet. There was a big piece of flying machinery, a dish, a saucer that came out of the sky last night. I was blinded by all its lights, and that's the last time I saw Dimplebutt.
Huxton nabs a bullet from his gun belt and shows it to Dewey.
You know what that is?
A bullet?
Yeah, that's a bullet. You know where it goes?
Up your gun?
No, up your ass.
He pulls his pistol from its holster, slips the bullet into a chamber, spins a cylinder, and aims the barrel at Dewey.
But I don't think you're gonna appreciate the particular way it's performed. Now, I ain't got time for drunks with breath that smells like the whole world stepped in shit. So go sleep it off, Dewey, I'm warning you.
I fought for this country. I drank because of my war wounds and got medals to prove it. And I owe my life to that horse because she saved mine on the battlefield.
Dewey steps back and despondently walks to the door. Doc Springfield, 60s, walks in. He has a beanpole body and a smile that never quits.
Morning, Doc.
Sheriff, got those pills for that wrenched muscle in your back?
He holds up a small bottle of pills.
Hey, Dewey, you're looking a mite low. What's the ailment? My Dimplebutt. Soak them hemorrhoids, you'll feel better.
Exterior, farmland, day. A demolished small barn. The entire roof of the structure has collapsed. Ben and Sheila McGuthrie, a steadfast couple in their early 40s, look on in dread at their damaged property.
Can you use some help?
Ben and Sheila are startled by the intruder's voice and quickly turn around to face him. The visitor, in shoddy duds, stands close to the couple. Somewhere under the heavy stubble and grime on his face hide the features of a young, good-looking cowboy.
Forgive me for disturbing you. I'm not a marauder.
Ben and Sheila are put at ease by the visitor's appeasing nature.
You're a new face.
Yes. I've never come this way before.
Well, it looks like you've been on the trail some, that's for sure.
I guess I've done a decent amount of traveling to get here. If it wasn't for this horse I found roaming around the shoreline last night, I wouldn't have made it this far. I left her around from grazing on some hay. I hope it's all right.
I'm sure you must be as hungry as she is.
The visitor nods.
I'm Ben McGuthrie. This is my wife, Sheila.
The visitor draws his Colt 45 on the couple. Ben and Sheila are taken aback.
Perhaps you feel safer taking this.
The visitor offers the gun to Ben.
Take it, please.
Ben takes the gun.
They say wearing one prevents trouble. I think it only creates it.
Ben and Sheila are at ease once more. The visitor looks past them at the demolished barn. Ben turns to look at the barn once more himself.
The worst wind I've ever seen came along last night and took it right down.
Good thing I came along. I can give you 2 strong hands. I know you can use them.
There's no denying that. There's too much work around here for me to get that barn up by myself before the cold spell sets in. I can't really pay anything. I can only offer food, and there's a small guest cabin out back you can call home till you're ready to move on.
Well, I can't think of anything better to settle on right now than hospitality.
The two men shake agreeably. Interior, Sheriff's Office, day. Edna Tucker, mid-40s and plump, stands at her son's jail cell.
Billy, why must you be so damn stubborn? You got a good home to come back to, but you won't let reason sink in that head of yours.
She moves in closer to the bars.
Damn your hide for not listening. If I wasn't involved with Sheriff Huxton, you'd be locked up in the worst prison in the territory. Now, it would take the stench out of your own corpse to get you out.
Yeah? Well, good, because the next time I try and shoot the hog-sized fiancé of yours, I'll be toe-to-toe with him instead of across the street like before.
Shh, he'll hear you.
Huxton is at his desk and springs to his feet with his hand on his gun.
If you want to die today, I'll let you try it right now.
No, Warner, the boy's just letting off steam.
Ma, it's real important that you believe what I'm saying. That maggot-looking son of a bitch shot Daddy in cold blood while his hands was raised and unharmed.
Your daddy was a thief. He was warned not to resist arrest.
My father didn't do no wrong. That sack of manure had to get rid of Daddy so we'd have a chance to steal you away from him. Don't you understand? He killed Daddy with no more compassion than what a dog feels biting a flea off its ass. He did it so he'd be next in line for all that money that the railroad's fixing to pay us for our land.
Huxton approaches Billy's cell.
You ought to be hung just for telling that lie.
And you're all still planning on marrying him, ain't ya?
Huxton wraps his arm around Edna's waist and pulls her against him closely.
Soon, in fact. Go ahead, tell him.
We decided to be married this Saturday.
Billy's face boils red with fury. Huxton stares him in the eye, smiling triumphantly.
Then on your wedding day, the devil take the 2 of you. 'Cause if he don't, I will.
The front door bursts open. The office is bombarded with a swarm of panicking townsfolk, frightened out of their wits. The blacksmith and bartender head the crowd.
Sheriff, come quick. Some kind of monster's loose outside. It's coming up the street.
There ain't no time to lose. You gotta get your buffalo rifle and kill it twice.
The hell's wrong with you people, bursting in here like a goddamn drunken lynch mob?
He's right. It'll be in the middle of town in a minute. You gotta defend us.
More women charge into the office, screaming for protection. Huxton realizes it's no joke and rushes back across the room to grab his buffalo rifle off the wall rack. He tears into a box of shells from out of his desk drawer and loads up. He then moves through the crowd to the door. The Reverend gives Huxton a hearty pat on the back.
The Lord will guide your aim, so send that son of a bitch back to hell whence it came.
Exterior, town, day. Huxton comes out of his office and watchfully steps into the middle of the street. He spots the thing. Huxton brings his buffalo rifle up into firing position.
Those damn fools were right. Something crawled out of hell.
Through the visor of a space helmet, the sheriff aims his rifle right between the eyes. The being keeps Huxton in its view and steadily moves toward him, breathing heavily.
Stop! Better understand English. One more step and I'll shoot.
The monster everyone is fearful of is someone wearing a grungy, bronze-colored spacesuit and helmet. Huxton's finger hugs the trigger of the weighty rifle.
This is your last warning.
He blasts his weapon. The heavy caliber slug kicks up the dirt just inches from the astronaut's approaching space boots. The cosmic traveler halts. The terrified townspeople peer out from the safety of their hideaways and windows, observing the bizarre confrontation in the street. Huxton reloads the buffalo rifle and sets its aim for the kill.
What are you? What do you want from us?
The spaceman unlatches his helmet and begins to lift it. Huxton's eyes reveal a shocking surprise. Interior, Sheriff's Office, day. The bronze spacesuit is tossed on top of the desk by Huxton. The mysterious astronaut stands behind the sheriff, wearing only his helmet and ragged, dirty drawers. Huxton sits at his desk.
You get that damn thing off your head again? The hell's wrong with you scaring everybody half insane like that?
The astronaut removes the helmet. It's Dewey Mitchell. He puts it down on the spacesuit.
Dude, I just hope they ain't a shorter washboards in this town, because you got everyone to shit their pants today.
Huxton lifts up an arm of the spacesuit.
So where'd you pick up something like this?
Found it. I was half buried in the sand close to the ocean. Must have washed up some time ago. You have to admit, though, looked pretty good on, huh?
Yeah, I almost killed you. That's how good it looked.
Say, I bet you I got it figured. I bet you those clothes belong to one of those things I saw in the sky the other night. Maybe something that ain't human is already living here, and we don't know one way or another who it is. Could be you, could be me, could be Billy over there, and none of us would know for certain. Ain't that right, Sheriff?
Dewey, I swear if I have to shoot you to shut you up, I will.
Careful, dude. He's done it before. He can kill anyone he wants and get away with it, just like the way he did with my pa.
Shut up or you'll be eating your teeth for dinner.
Dewey reaches for the spacesuit and helmet.
What are you doing?
Well, these are mine. And according to you, Sheriff, these duds can't belong to anybody in town, so you can't hold them for any reason.
He takes the spacesuit, puts it on, and zips it up.
You think you're smart and you're not drunk, huh? Take it and get out of here. And if you get your goddamn head blown off for wearing that thing around town, there'll be a cheap burial for you and a free steak dinner for the one who pulled the trigger.
Dewey grabs the space helmet off the desk. On his way out, he passes the Reverend walking in.
Where is he going in Satan's overalls?
You better get used to it, Reverend. That's your Sunday best.
Interior schoolhouse day. The class consists of about 20 children. The schoolmaster, Mr. Welding, 40, is more taskmaster than teacher in every kid's nightmare. The class is dead silent. All the children have their heads buried in their history books. In the back row sits 9-year-old Rufus McGuthrie, a cute kid with a sugar bowl haircut, but his head is buried in a dime novel. The Adventures of Shay Blaze, the Deadly Trespassers.
Mr. McGuthrie.
Rufus is startled to find his teacher standing over him. Mr. Weldon tears the book out of the youngster's hand and looks it over.
Mr. McGuthrie, did you complete your assignment?
Rufus fearfully stares at his teacher. Mr. Weldon picks up a blank piece of paper from Rufus's desk.
You haven't even begun. Stand up, young man.
Rufus rises to his feet immediately. The rest of the class watches with eagerness.
Class, observe our Mr. McGuthrie, for he is the prime example of the word failure. I want you to take an extra special good look at all the faces in this classroom. They represent the future scholars of the world.
He grabs hold of Rufus's head and forces the embarrassed child to look at his fellow classmates.
Look, these are students with ambitious minds, worthy of my time, and deserving of all I have to teach them.
He twists Rufus's head back to look at him eye to eye.
Not you, Mr. McGuthrie. Not you.
He releases Rufus.
You will amount to nothing more than a common dirt farmer just like your father. And who knows, you may never even achieve that much success in life. Who would like to escort Mr. McGuthrie home now to make sure he informs his parents that I require their presence here after school?
All hands spring up. Mr. Welding looks over his students.
You, Hillary, will you see to it that Mr. McGuthrie reaches home with my message?
Oh yes, Mr. Welding, I'll stand right there until Rufus tells his mom and pa everything.
I'm sure your parents will be more than interested to find out why their son is the laughingstock of his entire class.
Exterior farmland, day. Rufus walks fast as Hillary dogs his tracks. He stops abruptly and turns around.
Why don't you stop following me and leave me alone?
I have to go with you all the way home, just like Mr. Welding said.
I ain't getting a whooping if that's what you're gonna wait around and see. My mom and pa never whoop me.
That's because your pa is a dumb old farmer like Mr. Welding says, so he doesn't care if you learn anything in school.
Rufus grabs Hillary by the shoulders and gives her a good shaking.
You shut up, Hillary Larson.
He pushes her away.
My pa is the smartest farmer there is. If it wasn't for his cows, you'd be drinking possum piss.
You hurt me. Rufus McGuthrie, now you're in real trouble. I'm going back and telling Mr. Welding. You'll see, he'll never let you back.
She runs off.
You run like a little scared animal. Your pa must be a chicken, and your mom must be a rabbit.
He continues on his way home. Exterior farmland, day. Ben and the visitor labor side by side, clearing the rubble from the collapsed barn. The visitor breaks for a moment to rub his blistered hands.
How do they feel?
Like branding irons.
Why don't you go into the tool shed and get yourself a pair of gloves? You're welcome to whatever old things of mine to fit you.
Thanks, Ben. There wasn't much I brought with me.
Interior tool shed, day. The door opens and the visitor steps inside. He glances around at the farming equipment and tools, then spots a curious large chest. He walks over to it and opens the lid. Packed inside the chest is a heap of used clothes that he rummages through. His hand reaches deeper down and fishes out a book. The cover reads, The Adventures of Shay Blaze, The Ride to Showdown Mountain. The visitor continues to dig into the chest and brings up several more Shay Blaze novels, The Ghost Gang and The River's Revenge. He smiles with reverence and returns the collection of books to their musty home and shuts the chest. Just then, someone's shadow is cast from the open door. The visitor turns. Rufus is in the doorway.
Who are you?
A friend.
My name is Rufus.
He walks in.
What you doing here?
Looking for a pair of gloves?
I know where they are.
He walks over to the workbench, picks up a pair of work gloves lying in plain sight, and hands them over to the visitor.
Here you go.
Thank you, Rufus. You're a helpful little man.
Ah, my pa always calls me little.
Well, maybe in size, but not in importance. Your pa's a good man, too. You're very deserving of such fine parents, Rufus.
What's your name?
The visitor deliberates. Rufus awaits an answer.
Shay Blaze.
The impressionable youngster is spellbound and lifts his hand to receive a hearty handshake from the visitor.
How you making out in there? Find those gloves?
Rufus, listen to me. I think for now we should keep who I am a secret, okay?
No one who rides with Shay Blaze ever betrays him.
Ben steps inside.
Any trouble? Rufus, what are you doing home from school this early?
Rufus remains silent.
This here's my boy, Rufus.
Yes, he introduced himself to me. He's a real gentleman. You should be very proud.
I am. Right now I want to know what's wrong. What happened, son? What are you doing back so early?
Rufus still hesitates to answer and is unable to look his father in the face.
Rufus, look at me and tell me what's the matter.
The boy is obviously scared, Ben.
I know how to handle my own family. Why don't you excuse yourself?
Of course, I apologize. Forgive me.
He departs.
Now what happened, son?
Mr. Welding wants to see you and Ma today at school.
Why?
Interior schoolhouse, day. Mr. Welding sits at his desk.
Because Rufus is becoming a huge distraction to the class.
Ben, Sheila, and Rufus sit before him. Mr. Welding picks up the Shay Blaze book that Rufus brought to school and holds it up.
The corrosive influence of this demoralizing phony gunslinger, whom your son idolizes so, is clearly corrupting his mind.
He slams the book down on his desk. Ben immediately picks up the book.
Believe me, Mr. Welding, I took every one of those books away from him. You made me a promise that you wouldn't bring any more of these books to school, ever.
Rufus is dead silent and worried.
Doesn't just end with that, Mr. McGuthrie. Look at these.
He hands Ben a thin stack of letters to examine.
Those are letters that Rufus wasted his time in class writing to this farcical hero of his, begging him, no less, to come and visit him one day. Who knows how many more letters he wrote that he was able to sneak by me in the mail.
Ben and Sheila look at their son with displeasure. Rufus's eyes gather tears. Interior farmhouse, kitchen, day. Sundown shows through the windows. The visitor sits with the McGuthries at the table, all finishing up a hearty beef stew supper.
Are you done with your supper, Rufus?
Yes, Pa.
And get back to your homework. You got plenty to catch up on.
Yes, sir.
He gets up from the table.
Good night, Rufus.
Good night, Chip.
The visitor stands quickly.
Shame on me for taking more time than necessary. I still got an hour of work ahead of me before I turn in, too. Night, Rufus.
He gives a wink to the kid. Rufus smiles again and departs. Exterior town, night. The quiet town is suddenly disrupted in the early evening hours by a band of hardened gunmen on horseback who ride up to the Sea Meadow Hotel. The 6 outlaws are led by Wesley Cabin, a steely-eyed, rough-looking hombre of 50. Cabin and his men dismount and secure their horses. The gang follows their boss into the hotel. Interior hotel, 2nd floor, night. A door to a room opens, and out steps Cabin's closest cohort, Gorman, slightly older than his leader and stoutly built. He walks across the hall and knocks on another door, opening it. Interior hotel, Cabin's room, night. Gorman enters and walks over to Cabin, who is busy looking out an open window with a pair of binoculars.
She sure is beautiful. A real virgin.
He hands the binoculars to Gorman to share the view.
Yep, I ain't never seen a more precious one in all my life. Just waiting for the right kind of men to take her.
Hard to believe she ain't never been touched before.
Before Gorman takes away the binoculars from his eyes, the lenses reveal the beauty he's looking at, the Sea Meadow Bank. Exterior farmhouse, porch, night. Ben relaxes in a chair and fills his pipe with tobacco. The visitor stands facing the beautiful moonlit prairie.
Not much more a man needs out here except his freedom and nights like these to keep him reminded of it.
Ben strikes a match and lights his pipe, enjoying the first few long puffs to get it started. The visitor gazes up at the magnificent, star-laden sky.
You can be anywhere you want in the world, and nothing would be more breathtaking than a sky like that.
Nothing like last night.
What do you mean?
I know I'm crazy for telling you this, but I just have to tell someone.
What, Ben?
I was out here late last night getting some water from the well. Something enormous and bright came busting out of the sky with colors I couldn't describe to you. This thing moved across the sky like a locomotive on fire, and in seconds it was gone.
A shooting star?
No shooting star. I told you hell of a wind came and took the roof right off the barn. That wasn't any wind last night. It was that thing. It shot across so low, it's a wonder that anything around here was left standing.
Sheila comes out from the front door, carrying a tray with a coffee pot.
I got the color heating, won't be but a minute.
She freezes in her tracks as her eyes lock on something in the sky. The tray drops from her hands, its contents crashing on the floor. The 2 men turn swiftly to see what Sheila's gaping at. A large, glowing yellow disc approaches from a distance in the night sky. Smaller red lights run a flowing ring around the object's circumference. The spacecraft grows brighter as it travels closer, stirring up a gusty wind. The visitor is completely transfixed on the UFO.
Get inside, hurry.
He takes his wife's arm and leads her into the house.
Come on, get in here now.
We have a chance to see what this thing really is.
Ben comes up to the visitor and grabs his arm.
I'm telling you, take cover.
The visitor reluctantly cooperates and follows Ben and Sheila back into the house. The belly of the spaceship thunders directly over the farmhouse with blinding lights, gyrating wildly. Interior spaceship, command deck, night. The instrument console is of a highly sophisticated technological design. Its radar scope tracks all points. The synthetic voice of the master computer registers on an oscilloscope.
Cryogenic resuscitation systems initiated.
The cryogenic program processes its data on a computer monitor. Interior spaceship, laboratory deck, night. A chamber door opens and reveals a cryogenic tank. A glass dome encases a frozen figure amidst a swirling icy mist. Midway down the deck is a strange incubation chamber, isolated behind an observation window. Dozens of cherry-colored eggs, the size of a jawbreaker candy, rest in individual receptacles. It's the end of their gestation period. The eggs fade in color and become translucent with living creatures inside them. They resemble mini tarantulas, but with twice as many legs, hairless and hyper. Their mouths gnaw away in a frenzy, with teeth as sharp as sewing needles, clawing to break free. Exterior farmland, night. The spaceship's retro rockets shut down, its tails of fiery thrust cut off. The alien vessel surveys the area as it circles the farmland. The ship glides back to the farmhouse and hovers above it. A small one-room cabin sets near the back of the farmhouse. The visitor runs out, heading for the back door of the farmhouse. Interior farmhouse, front room, night. The room is ablaze with reflecting lights from the spaceship that hums above the rooftop. Sheila stands in the center of the room, lost in the dazzling clashing lights. Ben rushes in from another room as a visitor runs in from the kitchen.
The gun's not here. It's gotta be in the shed.
I'll get it.
No, stay here with her. I'll go and get it.
I don't know what the hell that thing is, but it's too bright to look at.
Ben, please don't go out there.
Keep her here.
He dashes into the kitchen to get out the back door. Rufus, groggy, finds his way into the front room.
Ma, Pa, where are you?
Rufus!
The visitor rushes over to Rufus and grabs him into his arms.
Hey there, Desperado. Everything's gonna be alright.
I'm scared. Why is it so bright in here? What's making all that noise outside?
A bad storm. It'll be over soon.
I dreamed you were gone.
Nope. I'm still here.
He gently plants Rufus's face against his chest to hide his eyes from the piercing lights. Exterior farmland, night. A small herd of cows, corralled near a large barn, stir nervously, riled by the intense lights and the resounding vibrations from the ship. Interior tool shed, night. There is intermittent visibility from the spaceship lights that ricochet off the windows. Ben rushes through the door and swiftly moves past a double-barreled shotgun mounted on a wall. He hurries over to the old, oversized chest. Ben pushes the chest away and quickly removes a section of floorboards. He desperately digs into the dirt and uncovers a rolled-up burlap sack concealing something bulky inside. He unfurls it to get his hand on the hidden object. The blinding lights and the sounds from the spaceship suddenly stop. The shed is stricken with darkness. Everything is still and quiet. Ben dashes to a window with his hand inside the burlap sack, ready to pull out the mysterious item. He sees nothing but darkness and regains his composure. Ben pulls out his empty hand from the sack and rolls it up. Interior farmhouse, front room, night. Sheila runs to a window.
It's over.
Sheila, no! Don't open the window!
Sheila opens the window and sticks her head out, looking up. She sees the enormous saucer drift away from the farmhouse with its low-density lights circling the underbelly of the craft.
Oh my god.
Interior spaceship, command death, night. Taurus, another synthetic computer voice, registers on the oscilloscope.
This is Taurus, your automated flight engineer. I bid you welcome to your destination point. Atmospheric readings indicate compatible oxygen molecules for sustaining sentient life forms. Guidance systems are now returned to your control.
A pair of small hands pop up and punch a flight program on a computer keyboard. A 10-year-old boy sits at the controls. His innocent age cannot disguise his fiendish persona. Exterior sky, night. The ship swiftly gravitates toward the stars and becomes lost in the glittering sky. Exterior farmland, day. Ben and the visitor are hard at work with the back-breaking cleanup of the smashed barn.
Have you thought about whether you're gonna say anything to anybody in town about what happened last night?
Ben takes a breather.
I was talking to Sheila this morning about what to do. Problem is showing proof. Photographs of the damn thing. Otherwise, we'd look like idiots. She's got a real good look at it, and she said she'll never be able to get it out of her mind.
Sorry about that, Ben. Rufus came into the room suddenly and I grabbed him. I tried to stop her from looking outside.
It's okay. I'm not blaming you.
Where's she now?
Went into town. She thinks she's got a way to convince the newspaper editor to print the story. She wouldn't tell me, but she's hell-bent on trying, that's for sure.
Interior general store, day. Sheila enters and rushes up to the counter where the proprietor, Mr. Figgis, is up on a ladder stocking the rear shelves with canned goods.
Mr. Figgis.
Mr. Figgis turns and looks down at Sheila. He starts down the ladder.
Well, hello, Mrs. McGuthrie. How are you today? Haven't seen you in a while. No reason not to stop in. Your credit's always good.
He faces her.
What can I put together for you?
Paints?
How many buckets you need for the house?
No, not that kind.
Interior sheriff's office, day. Sheila rushes in carrying a bag of supplies and a 22 by 28 canvas frame. Huxton stands up from his chair.
Mrs. McGuthrie, can I help you?
She stops.
Can you draw?
A gun?
No, a picture.
No.
Then you can't help me.
She moves along to Billy's cell.
What do you want with him? He's a prisoner.
Sheila stops at Billy's cell door.
Billy,
Billy walks up to her.
Yes, Miss McGuthrie.
You can call me Sheila. Billy, I heard from others that you're good at drawing things. Paintings?
Yeah, I guess so.
I need your help.
Huxton makes his way over to Sheila.
What's all this about? What do you got in that bag?
You don't have to worry. It ain't hot sauce or dynamite. It's art supplies.
Art supplies? Well, this boy can't help you. This ain't a museum I'm running here, lady.
Sheriff, this boy's gonna help me, you understand? Because this ain't no goddamn solitary confinement running here either, mister.
Later, Sheila stands inside Billy's cell watching over his shoulder as he sketches something on the canvas which hangs on the jail bars. The angle allows for only the two of them to see what's being drawn.
No, Billy, bigger, bigger, bigger.
Okay, Miss McGuthrie, but what is this thing anyway?
You draw and paint it just like I tell you, Billy, and I promise the answer will be in the newspaper.
Exterior newspaper office, day. The front window reads, The Sea Meadow Star, Elm Williker, editor. Interior newspaper office, day. Elm Williker, a high-strung, middle-aged man, is doing maintenance on his printing press. Sheila stands close, holding a large square object in plain brown wrapping.
I'm trying to protect my family and this town.
Mrs. McGuthrie, I heard the same drunken foolishness from Dewey Mitchell a few days ago. The sheriff almost ran him out of town. Not you. You're a sensible woman. Maybe it's something in the water. I'd get the county agriculture guy out here to check it out.
It ain't in the water, Mr. Wilker. It's in the sky.
What's in the sky?
Sheila tears off the paper from the item she's holding. It's the canvas frame.
This is what's in the sky.
She shoves the painting into Williker's face. It's Billy's shocking rendition of the flying saucer. Its immensity is shown by how it dwarfs Sheila's farmhouse painted below it. Williker is silenced in awe. He grabs the painting from her and studies the details of the ship's underbelly. Dabs of red paint represent lights around the entire rim of the craft, and white paint droplets show flowing light around the circular observation bridge.
My God, woman, what is this?
It's how they travel here.
That'll be a son of a tumbleweed. It's what Dewey called it, a flying saucer.
Exterior schoolhouse, day. The children begin a new morning and make their way up to the stairs to the schoolhouse. Mr. Welding stands on the porch. He greets his young students at the door as they enter. Interior schoolhouse, day. The kids file in and take their seats. Exterior schoolhouse, day. The last few children, including Rufus, straggle inside. The entire class has now entered the schoolhouse except for one new student who lags behind, the boy from the spaceship. He's dressed like any other normal child. Mr. Weldon pauses for a moment, staring at his new pupil. The boy stops at the bottom stair of the schoolhouse, looking up at him.
Who, may I ask, are you?
The boy remains silent.
I said, who are you, boy? Where are you from?
My name is Elroy Jetson. My father's name is George. My mother's name is Jane. My sister's name is Judy. I'm here visiting my grandparents, Fred and Wilma Flintstone.
I'm your schoolmaster. You may address me as Mr. Weldon. Well then, if you're to attend the school here, hurry and find a seat inside. You've detained my class long enough.
The boy climbs the stairs and enters the schoolhouse. Mr. Welding follows him inside. Exterior schoolhouse, day. The children disperse for home. The boy is the last to step out from the schoolhouse. He pauses on the porch to tighten the leather strap that cinches his schoolbooks together. Mr. Welding comes out the door.
You did very well today. You're a very bright boy. Keep up the good work.
Oh, I plan to.
Interior spaceship, command deck, day. The boy lies on the deck with his schoolbooks opened around him, writing up his homework. A communication signal alerts him that a voice transmission from Commander Louver is coming through.
This is Command Center Geo to Combat Scout Leader. Base Commander Louver speaking. We have received acknowledgement from Taurus of your successful arrival, requesting updated report on your search and destroy mission.
The boy sets his pencil down, gets up, and takes a seat at the instrument console. He puts on a headset with an attached mic and switches on the communication system.
This is Combat Scout Leader to Command Center Geo. The present year on this planet is 1874. Have achieved acceptance into their civilization, and the inhabitants here will be the easiest yet to conquer. The fugitive has not been located, but Taurus has detected the trace levels of isotopic effusion but we know the ship did enter their atmosphere. If he's here, I will find him and destroy him.
Exterior farmland, day. A hand is ready to draw a Colt 45 from its holster.
Draw!
With lightning speed, the person's hand draws the gun and fans it in rapid succession. A dozen empty bottles and jugs are set up on a fence a good distance away. Half of them shatter, showering glass on the ground. Rufus stands next to the visitor, overwhelmed by his hero's marksmanship.
Wow! Can you teach me to shoot like that someday?
The visitor reloads.
That's not my place, Rufus. That's for your pa to show you, if he thinks it's necessary. But I'll tell you what, them 6 bottles that are left up there, supposing I finish them all off, blindfolded.
Can you do that?
Only if we strike a deal that you'll promise to try extra hard to get that A on your test at school tomorrow.
You bet! A deal with Shea Blaze is never broken.
The visitor holsters his gun and the two shake on it. The visitor pulls out a bandana from his pocket and ties it around his forehead. He removes his 45 and sweeps the barrel up and down, then side to side to line up his targets. He holsters his gun and pulls the bandana over his eyes. His hand drops to his side, ready for action.
Call it.
Draw!
With smooth swiftness, the visitor draws his gun and fans it. 5 of the remaining bottles blast apart. The 6th appears to be untouched. Rufus is stunned by the visitor's amazing accuracy. The visitor lifts the bandana and spies his hits.
I reckon I need to practice some more.
But that was great, Shay.
The visitor motions with his hand for Rufus to follow him. The two walk over to the fence for a closer look at the dark whiskey bottle that still stands. The bottle is fatally wounded with cracks. The visitor nonchalantly blows on it. The whiskey bottle crumbles into pieces. Rufus is speechless. The visitor can't help but laugh. Interior schoolhouse, day. The children work on a written test. Mr. Welding is at his desk correcting homework papers. A small finger taps Rufus on the back of his shoulder. He quietly turns around. The boy from parts unknown sits behind him. He rolls a large, red jawbreaker-like candy between his fingers to entice Rufus's sweet tooth.
They're really good. Try one.
Rufus reaches for the extraterrestrial egg. The cherry-colored ball is dropped in his hand.
Thanks.
He turns back around, pops the ghastly entity into his mouth, and enjoys its sugary flavor. Mr. Welding senses a disturbance and looks up from his desk. Rufus swishes the egg around in his mouth, sucking off the sweet red coating as he works on his test paper. He brings the egg out between his lips. It is now white. His tongue rolls it back into his mouth, then rolls it back out between his lips again. The shell is now translucent. A spidery creature inside scampers to escape.
Rufus!
Rufus quickly sucks the egg back into his mouth. The schoolmaster steps up to Rufus. He stares at the bulge in the kid's cheek.
Open your mouth, this instant.
The boy behind Rufus watches in anger. Rufus opens his mouth and shows the egg. It is changed back to a milky white coating.
Now you go and put that on my desk, and since you seem to be enjoying it so much, you can finish it in here after school.
Rufus gets up and walks up front. He places the now harmless-looking egg on a corner of the teacher's desk. Exterior, behind schoolhouse, day. The boy walks up to Rufus, who sits alone having his lunch.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry I got you in trouble.
That's okay. Mr. Welding is always picking on me.
The boy sits next to Rufus.
He's a mean man. I don't like him at all.
Yeah, I hate him too. Like I said, he's always making a bunch of trouble for me. Nobody likes him, except for Hillary Larson. She's a big pest too. Wish I could step on them both like a cockroach.
I like you, Rufus. We think alike. I have a hunch we're gonna get along famously.
Interior schoolhouse, day. The children are still out on their lunch break. Mr. Weldon corrects more homework papers. His eyebrows raise as he senses something. His eyes shift across the desk. The egg is translucent. The unsightly, multi-legged creature crawls against the inside of the shell as it rolls slowly from the corner toward the schoolmaster. Shocked, Mr. Welding swiftly takes up his eyeglasses and puts them on. The egg has turned white and motionless. The confused schoolmaster removes his specs and massages his eyeballs with his fingers, then slips them back on again to stare at the egg. Suddenly, a crack splits up the center of the white egg, followed by another and another. It hatches. Mr. Welding is awestruck. The egg crumbles apart, releasing the small, horrid black arachnid. Mr. Welding's eyes widen in fright. The spider-like creature emits a high-pitched squeal as it quickly scurries out from its broken shell to attack the teacher. Mr. Welding breaks from his shocked state and hastily pulls open a desk drawer with a pistol in it. Exterior, behind schoolhouse, day. The children play. Welding's gun fires several times. The startled kids run to the back door of the schoolhouse. Interior schoolhouse, day. The boys and girls flood the doorway and stop short, staring at their teacher, who stands with a smoking gun in his hand. Chunks of wood have been blown off the desktop. Mr. Welding faces his students, still shaken from fright.
Class
He flops down in his chair, finally able to rest his nerves.
dismissed.
Exterior town, day. Rufus and the boy have chummed together. They stroll home from school down the main street.
How long are you visiting for?
Well, that all depends. I really came here to find someone. Sort of like a secret mission. You've played those kind of games before, right?
Huh? What are you looking for?
My father.
Where's your real home?
Too far for any stagecoach to reach.
You have to take a boat?
Well, sort of. But it's a different kind of ship.
Are your grandpa and grandma nice to you?
Yeah, they're a whole lot of fun. You like to see them?
Sure.
All right, let's go watch them.
Interior spaceship, command deck, day. A Flintstones cartoon opens with its infamous theme song on a video monitor. Fred Flintstone is mounted on his rock quarry's brontosaurus, shouting, "Yabba dabba doo." Rufus sits at the controls, watching the show in complete astonishment. Exterior town, day. Rufus and the boy are back walking along the main street.
Remember, everything I showed you must always be kept a secret.
Sure. I would never say nothing.
Because I'd have to eliminate those who wouldn't understand.
Rufus nods understandingly.
Good, tomorrow I'll show you some more.
Great. I like Barney Rubble. He's funny.
Say, maybe you can invite me to your house sometime to meet your folks.
Sure. Maybe you can come for supper.
I like that a lot.
Okay. Well, I gotta get home now. See you tomorrow.
He takes off.
Hey, Rufus.
Rufus stops and turns back. The boy holds up another deadly red egg between his fingers.
Here, I know you didn't get to finish the other one.
He walks over to Rufus and puts the egg in his hand.
Thanks.
He pops the alien egg into his mouth.
Have fun.
Exterior farmland, day. Rufus sits on top of a corral fence. The visitor stands close, leaning against it. A beautiful white stallion named Boulder sticks its nose into Rufus's face. Rufus playfully teases the animal with the sweet red egg he sucks on. He removes the juicy jawbreaker-like candy from his mouth and giggles as the horse takes nibbles at it.
Well, that makes logical sense. The only kind of teeth that can stand up to a piece of candy like that would be a horse's and a kid's.
I can bring you one tomorrow if you want.
No thanks, Rufus. Last thing I need right now is a $20 dentist bill.
Boulder gets a little too aggressive and nips the egg right out of Rufus's fingers.
Hey, Boulder, give that back. You.
Looks like Boulder's the one who gets the $20 worth of cavities.
Rufus hops off the fence and chases after the stallion to try to get his candy back. Interior hotel, day. Cabot and Gorman walk down the staircase. They make their way across the lobby, passing a short stack of newspapers on a table. Gorman catches the headline. Beware, moon people arrive in Sea Meadow. A photograph of Billy's astounding painting of the flying saucer has made the front page.
Wesley,
Cabot stops and turns.
Yeah?
come read this.
Cabot steps back to his friend. Gorman picks up a newspaper and shows it to his boss.
Beware, Moon people arrive in Sea Meadow. Why, that's disgusting. A respectable town editor robbing people blind with crud like that? There ought to be a law.
Gorman takes the paper from Cabot.
Just listen. Local farm owners, Ben and Sheila McGuthrie, their ranch hand, and town vagrant Dewey Mitchell have given hair-raising accounts of something unexplainable and unholy. On separate occasions, they witnessed a huge, bright flying contraption come down from the night sky. This flying saucer could very well be a vessel, according to the sober Dewey Mitchell, used to transport strange beings from the moon to Sea Meadow City. I could believe something like that, Wesley. Just look at the picture of it.
Well, you probably believe in a concept of eating pearls and shitting oysters, too.
He irritably grabs a newspaper out of Gorman's hands and tosses it.
Come on, let's go.
He leads the way out of the hotel. Interior farmhouse, Rufus's bedroom, night. Rufus sits at his little desk, just finishing his homework. The visitor appears at the door.
Finished?
Yeah.
The visitor walks in.
Well, it's a little late, but I'll finish up the story and then you get right to bed.
Deal.
The visitor sits at the foot of the bed.
I never had to fight quite so hard to stay alive as I did that day. But there I was with Crazy Train Calhoun, fighting him on top of the payroll car.
Rufus's eyes are wide with excitement as he imagines the action in his mind. Exterior, open plains, day. A speeding locomotive on top of the payroll car. The visitor and the ox-sized villain Crazy Train Calhoun are locked in a raging fistfight. Calhoun delivers a quick blow to the visitor's chin with his brick-hard fist. The visitor staggers back and helplessly falls off the side of the payroll car. Calhoun laughs uproariously. The visitor dangles from the iron ladder, bolted next to the large sliding door of the payroll car. He stretches his arm, grips the handle, and pushes the door open just far enough to work his body inside. Calhoun steps carefully to the edge of the roof of the payroll car for a look down. The visitor is gone from sight. Calhoun continues his hearty laugh.
But the more he laughed, the more I was ready for him.
Interior, Rufus's bedroom, night.
And then what happened?
Calhoun started down the ladder on the payroll car. He had already ambushed all the guards inside before the train took off, and he wasn't going to leave nicely unless he took all the money with him.
Interior, payroll car, day. The heavy door slides open, and Crazy Train Calhoun leaps in with a lit stick of dynamite clutched between his teeth. His exuberant expression quickly sours. The visitor has his gun aimed point blank at him.
The question we were both willing to die for was, could a lit stick of dynamite scare off a loaded .45? Truth was, you had to be insane of a fool to wait around for that answer. But sometimes you have to be either one to get anything done.
Calhoun removes a sparkling dynamite stick from his mouth.
I lost count of all the other idiot heroes I left dead who thought they had enough gumption to stop me. The only difference with you is you don't know how crazy I really am.
He threateningly shakes the burning stick of dynamite at the visitor.
And I always come prepared.
Well, Calhoun, let's just see how crazy you are.
He casually walks over to the big door, keeping his gun on Calhoun, and slides it shut. Calhoun curiously scratches his head with the sparking dynamite stick as he watches the visitor fit a large iron lock through the latch to lock each other inside.
Are you crazy?
No, I thought you were. What's your guess on how long we got before we turn to dust?
The dynamite fuse burns close to its bottom.
There ain't enough time to pray.
That's all the time I need.
He quickly walks over to a giant bank safe at the far end of the payroll car, stepping over a few dead army guards who have been shot. The door to the safe is open. The visitor steps inside and turns back to Calhoun.
Better button up. It's gonna get mighty drafty in here.
Calhoun stands dumbfounded. The visitor shuts the safe door, clear from danger. Calhoun swallows hard. He brings a spattering dynamite fuse to his mouth, and knowing it's too late, gives an effortless little blow of air. Kaboom! Crazy Train Calhoun disappears in a flash of fire and smoke. Exterior payroll car, day. The explosion blasts half the door off the car. Interior payroll car, day. The door to the bank safe opens slowly. The visitor sticks his head out for a look. Most of the smoke has cleared. A hunk of blue sky shines through the big hole in the roof, and an even bigger hole has been blown right through the floor where Calhoun stood a moment ago.
One thing's for sure.
Interior, Rufus's bedroom, night.
There must have been a piece of him in every county he was wanted in.
Wow.
Interior schoolhouse, day. Mr. Welding stands before his class holding up yesterday's newspaper headline. Beware, moon people arrive in Sea Meadow.
Has everyone read this now?
Yes.
All right. Who would care to share their opinion on this story with the class?
Hillary anxiously raises her hand high.
Okay, Hillary, very good. You go first.
Hillary stands at her desk.
My daddy said that story stinks so bad that flies wouldn't land on it.
The class cracks up laughing.
Okay, class, that's enough. Hillary, please refrain from the type of language your parents are best suited to express. Thank you. Who would like to go next?
Hillary takes her seat. More hands raise.
Okay, Gilbert.
Gilbert stands at his desk.
It scared me because my mom got frightened by it and it made her cry. My pa told us not to worry because if all the great things in the Bible happened the way they did, then it's possible something like this could be true because God would have created them. God created all living creatures. My pa isn't afraid, and now I'm not either.
Very enlightening, Gilbert. Thank you.
Gilbert sits.
Who's next?
More hands raise. Mr. Welding's eyes land on Rufus, whose hand is not raised.
You, Rufus. Let's hear from you.
My hand wasn't raised.
I know. That's why I'm interested in hearing from you.
Rufus stalls, dreading to participate.
Rufus, I'm not in the habit of begging my students to cooperate. Now stand up and give the class your opinion on this story. Immediately.
Rufus stands and shifts his eyes to the boy behind him. The boy threatens him with his eyes. Consumed by pressure, Rufus remains silent.
Rufus!
The boy stands from his desk.
Of course they exist. This whole town has a lot of fear. Their intelligence would make everyone else's brain look like mincemeat in comparison. Especially yours, Mr. Welding.
Infuriated, the schoolmaster approaches the young rapscallion.
Why, you 60-pound rattlesnake! Right after school, I'll escort you home myself so I can meet these unfortunate grandparents of yours, Fred and Wilma Flintstone, and tell them all about your vile, vulgar, and venomous tongue you have.
I am going to immensely enjoy the short time we have left together.
Exterior, desolate valley, day. Mr. Welding and the boy travel together on one horse.
I'm curious, Mr. Welding. You never gave your opinion about the visitors from another world. What do you think?
Anyone who suggests the slightest possibility about such bunk should be given a 10-year jail sentence for the worst crime of all, stupidity.
Oh, Mr. Welding, the things you say, one could really get to like you.
How much farther is it to your grandparents' farm?
Just up ahead. You don't have very long to go, believe me.
They ride on. Exterior, forest area, day. Mr. Welding and the boy continue the rest of their journey on foot. The boy follows behind his teacher as they walk through an area of high brush.
This better not be a trick of some kind, young man, leading me the long way around. So help me, if this is what you're up to, I'll suspend you from school for so long, you'll be married with kids of your own before you get out of my class.
It's no trick. It's actually a shortcut. Don't worry, you're going exactly where I want you to.
Mr. Welding pushes onward. The boy remains behind and pauses for a moment. His mouth hatches a sinister smile.
How close are we now?
No response.
I said, how close are we now?
No response.
I'm stopping right here until you tell me precisely how much farther we have to go.
He turns around. The boy has vanished.
Where are you?
Lost in a small jungle of entangling vines and wild shrubbery, the frenzied schoolteacher plunges farther, fighting his way through the rough thicket.
Little monster.
Exterior, forest area, clearing, day. Mr. Welding finally breaks through the last layer of brush and stops dead in his tracks.
My God!
His eyes soak in the shock of seeing a real flying saucer, the size of a baseball diamond, resting on its landing gear. The door to the craft opens circularly with the ramp extending to the ground. The boy stands defiantly in the mouth of the ship. He holds a laser pistol in one hand, and in the other, a leather strap with a school box buckled to it.
Guess I won't be needing these anymore.
He flings the bundle of books at his teacher. The boy then removes a see-through ammunition magazine from his pocket, the size of a .45 clip, but filled with a glowing yellow liquid. The boy inserts the magazine into the bottom of the weapon's handle and takes aim on the teacher. The very appearance of the laser gun threatens unstoppable power.
You're one of them. Are you from the moon?
No, there's no life on the moon, which makes it a suitable place for you.
He fires his weapon. A piercing yellow laser beam torches the schoolmaster's left arm. His flesh turns to sand and pours away to the ground. The pitiful teacher screams in terror, collapsing to his knees. The boy walks down the ramp and joins Mr. Welding. The vicious child holds the muzzle of the laser gun close to his teacher's face.
Please, have mercy on me. I don't want to die. Have mercy. Surely you must know the meaning of the word.
Absolutely. But I'm more favorable to the word conquer. And you must know, Mr. Welling, that all great conquerors know that the word mercy has no place in their vocabulary.
He fires the weapon without conscience. The intense laser beam turns Mr. Welding's head into a powdery sand that spills away, leaving the headless teacher still on his knees. The boy gloats with victory. Interior farmhouse, kitchen, day. Sheila is in the midst of preparing supper. Rufus walks in.
Ma,
Yes, Rufus?
could a new boy from school come for supper?
Sure. I'm fixing ribs on Saturday. Maybe you'd like to come then?
Gee, thanks, Ma.
He rushes out the back door.
Rufus, where are you going?
To watch the Flintstones.
Exterior farmland, night. The evening is clear and picturesque. 1,000 crickets chirp under a sky of 1,000,000 stars. The McGuthrie farmhouse and the small cabin are lit up by the radiant moonlight. Interior small cabin, night. The visitor is asleep in his bed. His body shifts slightly, but without breaking his slumber. Interior farmhouse, Rufus's bedroom, night. Rufus is snuggled up in bed, sound asleep. Interior farmhouse, Ben and Sheila's bedroom, night. The couple is fast asleep. Their faces are as peaceful as the night. Suddenly, the crashing of lumber is heard from somewhere outside, breaking the serenity. And in the next moment, silence. Exterior farmland, night. Nothing but calm and tranquility. Then abruptly, the banging strikes up again, this time louder and much more fierce. The strange noise is coming from the large barn. Slowly journeying toward the structure, the clamor increases. Just then, 2 violently frantic Mustangs bust through the doors of the barn, leaving behind a wounded horse inside, neighing in agony. The roar of a beast unknown to man thunders out of the barn, overpowering the heavy whimpering of the suffering horse. Interior farmhouse, Ben and Sheila's bedroom, night. The loud ruckus outside finally wakes Ben. He lifts his head and listens.
What on earth is that?
Sheila awakens quickly, hearing the racket.
What did you say?
I said, what gave birth to that noise?
What is it?
I don't know. Probably some wild animal bothering the horses, or worse, mating season.
Ben gets out of bed and grabs his pants over a chair.
Be careful.
Just how dangerous could 2 horses making love be?
Exterior, back of farmhouse, porch, night. The head of a matchstick explodes against a wooden post. Ben lights the wick of a lantern with the wooden match. He replaces its glass dome and turns up the flame. Ben takes up his double-barreled shotgun and comes down the steps. Interior, large barn, night. Things are now silent. The rickety barn doors hang askew. Ben approaches the barn. His lantern lights the way. Another agonizing cry from the wounded horse is heard, followed by a terrifying snarl from the unknown creature breathing heavily in the dark. Exterior large barn, night. Ben's lantern sheds its light upon the wrecked doors. He stops. He stands very still, listens, concentrates. A faint but sustained whimper is heard coming from the injured horse. Then a deep, fearsome grumble bellows out from the unimaginable creature inside. Ben raises his shotgun and secures its barrels tightly in his hand, which also holds the lantern handle. He enters the barn. Interior, large barn, night. Ben paces his steps slowly. The lantern flame reveals 2 busted down horse stalls. He continues forward, cautiously. The lantern then casts its light upon the next stall, also busted apart and splattered with blood. A colt lies in a far corner of the stall. It whimpers painfully. The animal's body has been savagely ripped open.
Oh, God, no. Willie.
He walks into the stall and over to the ravaged colt. Ben puts his shotgun and lantern down and kneels before the horse, caressing the animal's head.
Oh, Willie. What did this?
Something is heard moving in the shadows behind Ben. He grabs his shotgun, jumps to his feet, and whips around in a flash, ready to blast away. But there's nothing there. A ferocious roar bursts out from the darkness. The mysterious beast lurks into the stall, finally exposed by the glowing lantern. Boulder, the white stallion, has mutated into a T-Rex-like monster. The mighty creature stands tall on its hind legs. Its front hooves are now razor-sharp talons, and its teeth have grown into huge ivory fangs, dripping with thick saliva. Ben is trapped and stiffened by fear. The monster moves in and arches down to devour him. Ben quickly breaks from his frozen state of shock. He fires his shotgun. The blast bores a hole into the creature's chest. Blood splatters. The powerful beast lashes out with a tremendous roar and lunges at Ben. He fires a shotgun again. The buckshot blows out a chunk of flesh from its neck. Ben swiftly cracks open the shotgun, removes the spent cartridges, and stuffs the barrels with another round. The mutant horse fights to recover from its massive wounds. Ben fires both barrels into the creature's stomach. Thick, bloody flesh shreds from its body. The beast slowly staggers towards Ben. Its blood-drooling mouth opens wide to consume him, but hasn't even the strength to finish its savage roar. Ben reloads as he backs up against the far end of the stall. The beast draws its muzzle close to Ben's face and opens its bloody mouth. It speaks in a voice that's evil personified.
We will conquer.
Ben shoves the shotgun barrel straight into the beast's mouth.
Shouldn't talk with your mouth full.
He lets both barrels go. The blasts fill the creature's Herculean head with fire and smoke. Its 2 cannonball-sized reptilian eyeballs blow out of their sockets. The dead beast falls heavily to the ground. The visitor rushes into the barn with his .45 pistol.
Ben, are you all right?
Yeah.
The visitor looks down at the beast's bloody carcass.
What is it?
I don't know, some kind of giant wild buffalo?
I've never seen anything like it.
We gotta bury it before it starts stinking to high heaven.
Ben?
Quick, keep her out.
The visitor rushes out. Ben looks down at Willie, the colt. The maimed animal is still alive and pants heavily. Ben breaks open the barrels of his shotgun and reloads. Exterior farmland, night. The visitor holds Sheila safely back.
Ben is fine. Just don't go in there right now. It's not something you want to see.
Interior large barn, night. Ben fires both barrels into the colt. The animal is finally at peace. Ben's face bears his exhaustion and sorrow. Exterior schoolhouse, day. The children gather together, waiting for school to begin, but there is no sign of Mr. Welding.
I bet he's sick. Maybe he's only late. He's never been sick or late ever.
Maybe he had an accident somewhere on the way to school.
The boy nonchalantly cuts through his classmates.
I wouldn't worry too much about Mr. Welding. He had a good head on his shoulders.
Exterior, town, day. Rufus and the boy carry their school books and make their way down the main street.
Say, Rufus, did you finish that candy I gave you?
Well, it was real good, but my horse, Boulder, accidentally ate it.
The boy stops.
What?
Rufus stops and turns back to the boy.
You mean your horse ate the whole thing? All of it?
Yeah.
Anything different happen out at your place yesterday? Anything at all strange?
Yeah, a lot of shooting last night. My pa said some wild animal got into the barn and attacked 2 of our horses real bad, so we had to shoot them.
The boy thinks for a moment, and by his cunning expression hatches a malicious idea. Interior, Sheriff's Office, day. Huxton carries a breakfast tray over to Billy's cell. Rufus and the boy enter.
What are you kids doing out of school?
Ain't no school, Sheriff. Mr. Welding's sick or something. He never showed up.
Yeah, when he's out, doesn't Abigail Wilker take over the class for him?
Yeah, but nobody showed up.
Well then, you boys get on home. As far as I'm concerned, it's still a school day, so you go and do your studying at home. Besides, I don't like kids getting used to hanging around jails. Bad for their upbringing.
Oh, come on, Huxton. Even Rufus knows you're the only one in town who belongs behind bars.
Keep that damn trap of yours shut, or you'll be eating your breakfast off the floor.
I just come to visit Billy for a little bit. That's all.
Mind me, boy. Now get.
Rufus reluctantly walks out with his schoolmate.
You're so full of crap your mother must have gave birth to you in an outhouse.
Huxton smashes the breakfast tray against the bars of Billy's cell. Exterior town, day. Rufus and the boy continue their way down the street.
The sheriff's about as friendly as Mr. Welding, huh?
Yeah, Billy really hates him.
What did Billy do?
Tried to shoot Sheriff Huxton.
Why?
'Cause Sheriff Huxton killed his pa. Billy's my friend, and I believe what he says about the sheriff killing his pa on purpose. Now the sheriff's gotta be careful.
How come?
'Cause for a long time, the sheriff wanted to marry Billy's mom. But Billy always said, if that happens, he's gonna shoot Sheriff Huxton. Shoot him dead, no matter what. And I think the wedding's tomorrow.
But Billy's locked up. The sheriff's safe.
Well, if Billy escapes somehow, he'd shoot him.
The boy smiles deviously. Exterior town, church, day. On this cheerful afternoon, the townsfolk arrive all dressed up in their suits and ties, dresses and bonnets, canes and parasols. Interior church, day. The citizens file into the festively decorated church for the wedding of Sheriff Huxton and Edna Tucker. Interior, Sheriff's Office, day. Billy lies asleep in his cell. He breaks from his snooze and shifts his head. His droopy eyelids close, but suddenly reopen with surprise. His head comes off the pillow and sits up on the bunk. Billy stares at his cell door. It's wide open. He realizes the premises are deserted and darts out from his cell. He quickly grabs the sheriff's gun out of its holster hanging on the wall and checks its chambers to make sure it's loaded. Exterior, Sheriff's Office, day. Billy steps out of the office cautiously and scouts around with his eyes. Exterior, livery stable, day. The boy comes out of hiding from behind a haystack. His face beams with delight as he watches Billy make his escape. Exterior, town, day. Billy dashes off the porch of the sheriff's office and ducks out of sight between two buildings. Interior, church, day. The pews are filled to capacity. Among the guests are Ben, Sheila, Rufus, and the visitor. Dewey sits next to the visitor, inappropriately dressed in the spacesuit and helmet. The visitor curiously eyes the spacesuit up and down, then stares into the dark-tinted helmet visor, but can't see Dewey's face. Dewey raises the visor and exchanges a harmless glance at the visitor. His muffled voice comes through the clear face bubble on the space helmet.
I'll make you a good deal on this suit. You can be in style for when they all come down and take over the whole place.
The visitor shows zero interest and turns his head away. The Reverend is at the altar holding his Bible with a smile. Huxton stands before him, nicely dudded up, awaiting his bride-to-be. The organ begins playing as Doc Springfield escorts Mrs. Tucker up the aisle. Huxton's face sparks with happiness. Mrs. Tucker takes her final steps before the Reverend as the organ music concludes. Doc Springfield kisses her hand and gently pats it, then sits in a pew up front.
Friends and neighbors, we all have gathered in the presence of God, so we may witness and he may bless the joining of these two very special and holy matrimony. Their faith, love, and devotion should be a lesson to us all.
Exterior, somewhere outside of town, day. The entrance to a rancher's property. The sign overhead reads Blackmore Ranch. Exterior, Blackmore Ranch, day. A bulky aluminum carrying case for lab supplies rests on top of an oak barrel. The boy stands in front of the case and opens the lid. Steam escapes from its airtight interior. Restless horses are heard in the background. As the steam dissipates inside the case, a habitation unit is revealed, housing dozens of the alien eggs. Interior church, day. The Reverend continues with the wedding ceremony at the altar.
Warner, will you have this woman to be your wife, to love her, comfort her, honor, and keep her in sickness and in health, and forsaking all others, be faithful to her in the covenant of marriage till death breaks its sacred bonds?
I will.
Edna,
Exterior, Blackmore Ranch, day. The portable habitation unit is now empty of all its red eggs. The boy stands in the middle of a corral feeding a herd of brawny workhorses the last batch of the deadly eggs. Interior, church, day. The wedding ceremony continues at the altar.
I will.
if anyone present has just cause why these two may not lawfully be joined together, let them speak now, or else forever hold their peace.
The front doors burst open. Billy stands in the archway, with the sheriff's pistol raised in the air and fires. Cries of panic ring out from the shocked guests. Billy turns the gun on Huxton.
No, Billy, don't.
Billy, hold on a second. Just calm down before you do something stupid and listen to me. I've been fighting to clean up our differences and have some kind of decent relationship with you. It's important, son, that you want that too. We're family now.
He begins a careful approach toward Billy.
Now, I'm beyond sorry the way things turned out for your father. He drank too much in the gambling hall that night. He grabbed the money he lost from the table. I tried to stop him. He drew his gun. I told him don't, and that's everything that happened.
He draws nearer and nearer to Billy.
All I did was defend myself. I had just as much right to live as he did. But he drew on me first.
He arrives in front of Billy, who holds the gun point blank on him.
Now you can shoot me, but it ain't gonna bring back your pa, and it ain't gonna change the truth.
Billy is slightly subdued by Huxton's sincerity and hesitates to pull the trigger.
Give me the gun. Walk out of here as a family.
He slowly reaches for the gun and wraps his hand around the barrel. Billy releases his finger from the trigger.
You son of a bitch.
A tug-of-war breaks out between the two for possession of the pistol. The weapon fires. A hole blows through the sheriff's shoulder. The guests scream and jump up from their seats. The severe pain from Huxton's wound forces him to his knees, then drops on his back. Billy, shaken, drops the gun and flops down on a bench in a back pew. Mrs. Tucker rushes over to Huxton, kneels close to him, and gently holds his head up from the floor.
You're crazy. You do belong in jail, you fool.
Doc Springfield pushes through the crowd and crouches before Huxton to examine his bloody shoulder wound.
Well, doesn't look like it hit anything major. Lucky, looks like a clean wound. I'll go get my bag.
Don't fuss. I'm all right. I'll get up and go to your office.
No, just take it easy. Keep him comfortable. I'll be right back.
The doc gets up and makes his way out. Ben comes through the crowd and picks up the sheriff's gun off the floor. He walks over to Billy and comforts him with a firm grip on top of his shoulder. Billy looks up at Ben, teary-eyed.
It's gonna be okay, son.
Exterior church, day. People begin filing out. Exterior, town, day. Doc Springfield exits his office with his doctor's bag and hurries along back to the church, passing the bank. Interior, bank, vault room, day. $500,000 is stacked on metal shelves inside a large, fortified iron cell. Without warning, the back wall of the heavily constructed money cage explodes. Through the thick and abounding smoke, Wesley Cavan and his gang charge inside the iron cage from outside and quickly stuff the loot into gunny sacks. Exterior, church, day. The citizens are in an uproar over the bank robbery.
The bank's been
The
hit!
bank's been robbed!
They
The bank
blew the
was
bank!
robbed!
Somebody
The
get out of
bank
this gang!
The visitor snaps his head around in a surprised reaction to hearing Cavan's name. Mrs. Tucker helps Huxton walk out from the church. They gape at the dense smoke rising far above the bank's rooftop. Interior, bank, vault room, day. Cabot and his men frantically shove more money into more sacks and cinch them together. Exterior, town, day. In the midst of the aroused crowd, the visitor looks down to find Rufus staring up at him with anticipation in his eyes. The visitor smiles at the lad and reassures him with a wink. The visitor looks across the street and spies a business sign, Hawk Lester's Gun Emporium.
Where's Mr. Hawk Lester?
Mr. Hawk Lester, a short, chubby man, steps out from the mob.
Right here.
Get your key. You're open for business. Who owns the livery stable?
A man in a bowler hat pushes through the crowd.
I do.
Better round up a half a dozen horses. We're gonna need them for the posse.
Exterior, back of bank, day. Cabot and his outlaws drape the money sacks over their saddles.
Hey, Wesley,
What is it?
Gorman motions his head at something behind the cabin.
better have a look.
Cabin turns around and spots the boy standing a few feet away.
You boys need any help?
Cabin and his men enjoy a good laugh.
Sure, kid. In about 10 years when you trade that peach fuzz in for real whiskers.
He dips into his vest pocket and pulls out a silver dollar.
Here.
He flips the coin to the boy.
Consider that an advance on your first job with us.
Cabin and his men mount up.
See ya, kid. I'll hold your position open for you.
The criminals spur their horses and ride off. The boy watches the pack of outlaws kick up the dust and spread fast into the open prairie. Interior, gun shop, day. The visitor hands out firearms to his posse of 6 men. Huxton is also present, his wounded arm fitted in a sling. He perspires heavily as he fights off the pain.
Better hand me one of them shotguns, stranger.
The visitor arms himself with a bandolier and rifle.
Better save your strength, Sheriff. We're only catching them for you. You're gonna have to keep them caged and happy.
Exterior, town, day. The visitor leads his eager posse out from the gun shop and into the street. Huxton follows closely behind. The visitor and his men mount their horses. Across the street is the newspaper office. Williker hurries with a pencil and pad out the door.
Let's ride.
Williker rushes up to the visitor just before he spurs his horse.
Hey, wait a minute.
The visitor looks down at the editor.
You're news, fella. What's your name so you can read all about yourself in the paper?
The visitor hesitates. He looks to Rufus, who's with his parents. The kid beams with a big smile of admiration at his hero.
Shay Blaze. That's my name. Print it.
Rufus jumps with excitement. The visitor winks at his little pal and leads the posse off on the pursuit. Ben and Sheila are left dumbfounded and look to their son for an answer. Rufus looks up at his parents with a joyous afterglow on his face. The wounded sheriff takes a few steps forward in the dusty tracks of the posse.
By the powers vested in me by this state, I pronounce you all deputized.
The weary Huxton faints dead away on his face in the street. Dewey runs past the unconscious sheriff.
Hey, stop! That's my dimple butt! Come back with my dimple butt!
He looks down at the lifeless lawman.
Sheriff! Sheriff! You gotta do something! He's got my dimple butt! Stop, you heartless horse thief!
Exterior, open prairie, day. The visitor and his posse race over rugged country as they relentlessly track Cabin's trail under a hot desert sky. Exterior, open prairie, day. Cabin and his bunch continue their hard ride through the heat and grit of the unforgiving plains, driving their animals to the limit of endurance. Exterior, open prairie, day. The valiant posse catches up to the outlaws near a low mountain range and break into a fierce shootout. The chase leads the riders up a mountain trail with their guns ablaze. Exterior, mountain range, day. The outlaws storm off the trail and spur across an open plateau, and with the posse at their heels, the gun battle rages on. Above the nearby mountaintops are 2 stupendous neighboring planets. The landscape of one bears a multitude of black craters and red canals. The other planet is encircled by 2 magnificent, multicolored rings of cosmic gases and scintillating vapors. The visitor blasts 2 of Cabin's men off their horses, but loses a couple of his own men in a hail of return gunfire. The heavy exchange of hot lead blows the rest of Cabin's men off their horses, including Gorman, who hits the ground hard, soaked in blood from bullet holes. Cabin is alone and tries to outride the visitor. The visitor reloads his rifle using his bandolier. Cabin turns and fires 2 shots at him, then clicks empty. The visitor gives his horse an extra sting from his spurs. Cabin tries desperately to reload his pistol. The visitor replaces his rifle in its saddle scabbard as his horse just about catches up to Cabin. Cabin shoves a few more bullets into the cylinder and locks it. He quickly turns to take aim at the visitor, who leaps off his saddle and tackles Cabin off his horse. The two hit the ground and tumble together. The visitor straddles Cabin. The outlaw is shocked to see who it is.
You! At least your memory's honest.
He fires a solid punch into the outlaw's face and knocks him out cold. The rest of the posse corral their horses around the visitor and Cabin.
That's real good work, Mr. Blaze. You got them all right?
Better go after those horses. Can't let the bank money get away now.
Sure, boss.
He leads the rest of the posse off on the job. Cabin wakes, dazed and dizzy. The visitor gets up off the outlaw and draws his gun on him.
What happened?
You just helped me finish the last adventure of Shea Blaze.
Interior, newspaper office, day. Williker mans the printing press. Newspapers fly off the hot press and stack up. The headline reads, Shea Blaze captures Wesley Cabin. Below is a gritty photograph of the visitor on his horse, clutching a rifle. Exterior farmhouse, porch, day. The visitor stands with his arm around Rufus's shoulders. They face the setting sun. Ben steps out the screen door and places his hand on top of his son's head. Rufus looks up at his father.
Go inside, son.
Rufus reluctantly obeys and breaks away from his maverick friend. He walks to the house and takes one last look at his hero, then goes through the screen door.
For what you did today, the whole town will forever be in your debt. There will always be a place set for you at everyone's supper table. But that still doesn't answer one question. Who are you?
Probably no one you'll care to remember after today. The day I arrived here, I was just released from Scar Desert Territorial Prison.
Ben is quiet and listens closely.
I rode with Wesley Cabin in this gang. 5 years ago, we robbed the Highland Stagecoach line.
Ben's expression changes to immediate disdain.
Cabin got away with all the money, but left me behind to take the fall.
Ben takes out a pouch of tobacco and a pipe from his jacket and lights up. He stares angrily at the visitor.
To pass the time with myself, I started writing these stories about a gunfighter who'd go up against the worst criminals and make him pay. I guess I was trying to redeem myself by imagining I was this gunfighter, this hero.
Ben puffs hard on his pipe, not in a favorable mood.
The warden found my stories, and I thought for sure he'd burn them all, but he was amused. He sent them to a publisher friend of his, and I was cut a deal. I wrote more and got less rocks to break and real food to eat instead of slop. But I had to turn over all revenue to the warden. After a while, the books got to be pretty popular with the kids, and the publisher would send me their fan letters to read. Rufus was my favorite.
Sheila stands quietly behind the screen door listening.
Yeah, she thought Shea Blaze was real. I had no other place to go when I got out. Rufus needed a hero, and I needed someone to believe in me, even if it was just a 9-year-old boy.
Interior, farmhouse, day. Sheila lingers by the screen door. A tear falls from her eye. Exterior, farmhouse, porch, day. Ben's expression shows not a shred of sympathy as a ball of smoke rolls up from his mouth. He coldly taps his pipe on a wooden post. The two men stare at one another, waiting for the other to say something.
You would tell Rufus goodbye?
Ben nods. The visitor extends his hand to Ben for a farewell handshake, but receives no response from him. The visitor lowers his hand and walks off the porch. Sheila opens the screen door and approaches Ben in earnest.
Ben,
We don't need his kind here. Go back inside, please. Get supper ready.
A resentful Sheila keeps quiet, then returns indoors. Exterior, farmland, day. The visitor, on horseback, trots away from the McGuthrie farm without a look back. Up ahead, a small figure walks toward him. As the visitor trots on, the boy is seen in his path.
Howdy.
The boy totally ignores the visitor and passes him right by. The visitor looks back and watches the boy for a second, then picks up the pace and rides away. Interior, farmhouse, kitchen, day. Sheila opens the stove door and bastes a large slab of beef ribs with barbecue sauce. The back door opens and Ben comes in with a bucket of water. He sets it down on the table and ladles it into glasses. Rufus walks in and stops short.
Where's Shay?
Ben stops filling the water glasses.
He's gone, Rufus.
Gone. But he didn't say anything about having to go.
He told me to tell you goodbye, and someday when he's needed again, he'll return.
Rufus's eyes fill with tears. Sheila quickly thinks of something to get Rufus's mind off his hero.
Rufus, I'm gonna need some more wood for the other slab of ribs. Can you please go out and get me some?
Rufus half-heartedly walks out the back door. Sheila, still annoyed with Ben, looks to him.
It's our responsibility to teach him the truth and courage are what real heroes are made of, and not to confuse that with the reckless heroics and deceit of an ex-convict. I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is.
There's a knock on the front door.
I'll get it. You cut the ribs.
She stops first to kiss Ben on the cheek.
I understand. I know your heart is in the right place, dear.
She slips out. Exterior, farmhouse, front room, day. The screen door rattles with a few more knocks. Sheila steps in and opens it. The boy smiles up at her. Interior, farmhouse, kitchen, night. The sun has just set and the darkening hour shows through the windows. Ben stands on a chair and lights the candles on a small chandelier over the supper table, then steps down. He moves over to the stove and grabs a tray of ribs. He carries it to the table and picks up a butcher's knife. Sheila returns.
I forgot about Rufus's dinner guest.
Ben looks behind and sees the face of the boy and instinctively plunges the large blade into the ribs with rancor.
I'll go see what's keeping Rufus.
She leaves through the back door. Ben and the boy stare at each other with equal contempt.
So you're Rufus's father, huh? Does that make him my little brother?
If anyone dies because of you, I'll drain whatever blood you have of mine from every slimy vein in your body.
I love you too, Dad.
Make no mistake, I'll fight you to the death just the way I will if any more of your kind come here.
You'll see things differently tomorrow, when you're one of us.
Later, the tray of ribs and the side dishes on the table have been picked clean. The McGuthries and their special little guests sit back in their chairs, full.
Last time I had barbecue ribs as good as these was at the farmer's market on 3rd and Fairfax in LA.
Ben chokes on a sip of his coffee.
Well, that's very nice of you to say that. Where is this place, you say?
Oh, it's really simple to get to. If you're coming from downtown Los Angeles, you hop on the 10th Freeway West.
Sheila looks completely baffled.
Sounds to me like you've been around. I'm sure you told Rufus plenty about yourself.
Oh, sure. I've shared a few neat things with him. Rufus and me get along well.
Yeah, just like brothers.
Ben tries to control his growing fury.
You boys ready for dessert?
Sure am. What you got? Haagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry's, Klondike bars?
Sheila turns to Ben with a question mark on her face.
How about fresh milk and homemade apple pie?
Why not?
Good. Then why don't you come along and help me get the milk? And Rufus, you help your mother with the dishes, okay?
Okay.
Come on.
They all get up from the table. The boy follows Ben outside through the back door as Rufus collects the dirty plates. Interior, large barn, night. The boy looks around as Ben follows him with the lantern.
Just what have you shown Rufus so far?
Let's just say he watches TV more than he ever did before.
You took him aboard your ship?
Well, nobody around these parts has cable.
Is it just you they sent?
For the time being. Did you actually think you could escape us and settle down here like Daniel Boone? Because of your mistake coming here, this planet will be next to complete absorption. We are the supreme species.
He walks toward the barn doors. The boy stops and looks back at Ben.
Oh yeah, I almost forgot. You know the Blackmore Ranch? just a few miles outside of town. They raise those big, stocky workhorses. I fed the entire stock with fully matured arthropod embryos. Come tomorrow, if you can't come up with a way to save this town, you'll be piling up dead bodies like flapjacks.
I'll kill you.
Everyone's entitled to their own type of fun. Mine will be watching the whole town die. Vacation's over. Get ready to check out. See ya at high noon.
He exits and mocks his father by whistling High Noon. Ben listens to the taunting tune with fuming eyes. Interior, tool shed, night. The door opens with a lantern, grasped in Ben's hands, burning away the darkness inside. He walks in and locks the door behind him. He proceeds to the back of the shed and sets the lantern down next to the chest. Ben pushes the heavy chest aside and removes a few floorboards. He then begins digging up the dirt with his hands and exhumes the curious bulging burlap sack. He unties its rawhide lace. Ben pulls out the large, bulky object inside the sack, a laser pistol, identical to the boy's, and sets the weapon down. Ben continues to dig deeper. He uncovers another strange object, long and cumbersome, wrapped in canvas. He unties the two ends and unrolls the item, a highly futuristic laser rifle. He ponders the weapon. Exterior, town, day. A white horse with brown splotches on its rear end is tied to a hitching post in front of the saloon. Bundled on the animal's back are someone's junky old belongings with a note attached. Thanks for the use of Dimplebutt. She's a wonderful girl. Signed, Shay Blaze. Dewey strolls out of the bar with a whiskey bottle in hand, still in his spacesuit, but without the helmet. He is hit with delight at the sight of his beloved horse.
Dimplebud, is it really you?
He rushes over to the animal.
It is you!
He hugs the horse's head with all the happiness of a child.
I'll never let you out of my sight again.
He takes notice of his possessions tied down on the horse.
All the rest of my things. You brought them back with you. You're amazing, Dimplebutt.
He plants a big loving kiss on the horse's nose.
Let's celebrate.
He offers the whiskey bottle to his horse, and she laps up the booze with the thirst of her master. Interior, Sheriff's Office, day. Cabin is jailed. He stands gripping the bars of his cell door. Billy occupies the cell next to him.
Hey, how long do I have to wait for a meal around here?
Huxton sits at his desk, holding a cup of coffee, his other arm still in a sling.
Oh, you mean the boomerang breakfast, don't you, Cabin? Because when that rope snaps your neck, those eggs and bacon you gobble down come flying right back up again.
Exterior, town, day. A stagecoach rolls up in front of the hotel. The visitor walks up from the hotel to the stagecoach. The stage driver climbs down from his seat.
Yeah, hop aboard and give me a minute. I gotta piss a river.
He rushes along into the hotel. The visitor opens the door to the coach and enters. The church bell begins ringing. Exterior, church, day. The congregation flocks to the doors and extend their greetings to the reverend as they enter. Interior, stagecoach, day. The visitor waits patiently to depart. Exterior, town, day. The stage driver returns to his coach and climbs aboard. He collects the horse's reins, preparing to depart. Interior, stagecoach, day. The door immediately opens by someone outside. It's Ben.
Ben,
I need your help, desperately.
He quickly climbs inside the coach with one cumbersome weapon wrapped in canvas and another inside a burlap sack. He closes the door and sits opposite the visitor. The stagecoach begins to roll.
I'll stop the driver.
No need, because if you don't believe what I'm about to tell you, by the time this stagecoach reaches the end of the street, it'll be too late. This whole town is going to be crushed to the ground, and everyone along with it.
I don't understand. What do you mean?
Ben unwraps the laser rifle. The visitor stares in amazement at the weapon.
I'm not exactly a farmer. I don't know how else to tell you this, but I'm an astrophysicist, a space scientist. I'm a visitor from a planet called Earth.
The visitor is simply perplexed. Exterior, stagecoach, day. The stage driver cracks a whip at his team of horses.
Yeah!
Interior, stagecoach, day. Ben grabs hold of the burlap sack and opens it. He pulls out the laser pistol and offers it to the visitor.
Take it. It's the only way you're going to believe all this.
The visitor is extremely hesitant as he stares at the fascinating weapon.
Go ahead. Try it.
Exterior, town, day. The stagecoach nears the end of the street. Everyone is in church. Sea Meadow is now quiet and empty. A scintillating yellow laser beam fires out of stagecoach window and hits the horse trough Dimplebutt drinks from. Flash, it disintegrates. Dewey stands next to his horse. He holds a half-filled whiskey bottle with a pair of stupefied eyes. He then closely examines the label on the whiskey bottle.
Eureka, Dimplebutt! A brand that works!
The wheels of the stagecoach break fast and come to a stop past the edge of town. The door to the coach opens. Ben steps out with the canvas-covered laser rifle. The visitor follows next. He holds the bulky burlap sack that contains the laser pistol.
Thank you.
The stagecoach pulls away and leaves the two men on the deserted street. Ben, much obliged, pats the visitor on his shoulder. The two men walk back to town.
Our nightmare began when scientists started experimenting with plant life from other planets, looking for the mystery enzyme that would kill Earth's most deadly disease, we call cancer. By the grace of God, or rather the devil, they found it in a species of flavonoid concentrated berry that grew inside an egg-like red shell, and we fed it to the entire world.
I saw it. Rufus was eating one. Then your horse, Boulder, ate it.
I know. The nightmare was the eggs. They were actually wombs for a vastly intelligent microorganism that would inhabit the mind. Over time, the radiation from our sunlight mutated the alien germs into these malevolent, spidery beings. You saw what happened to Boulder that night. It turned our human race into a non-human one.
Flashback sequence. Exterior, downtown Los Angeles, day. Super, Earth, 2099. The futuristic skyline swelters in a red, fiery sun. The old City Hall building is the only recognizable structure left in the Civic Center.
Imagine a world where the only way to survive as a human was to kill anyone you suspected might be one of them.
Exterior, upper-class residential neighborhood, day. The focus is on a large, stylish, single-story family home. Interior, home, master bedroom, day. A wedding photo of Ben and his beautiful bride sits on top of a tall dresser. Beside it is a smaller photo of their 10-year-old son, the boy, innocent-looking and happy.
But more importantly, you had to be prepared to kill the people you love the most.
Ben's sensuous wife lies on the bed in a tantalizing pink satin slip. She reaches her hand out to someone.
My wife was one of them.
Ben stands at the foot of the bed. He aims a laser pistol at her. Ben's wife sits up and holds her arm out lovingly to him. Ben fights to remain strong, but a tear breaks from his eyes. He hesitates to fire.
Ben, I love you. I want us to have another child.
He allows the tear to run its course and fires. A lucent yellow laser beam blasts out from the weapon, striking his wife in the chest. Her entire body decomposes, turning into a fine, granular substance that spills away onto the bed. Ben senses something and looks to the bedroom door. The boy stands in the doorway, witness to his mother's death. Ben turns his weapon on his son, ready to fire.
My son, too, was one of them now.
The boy sticks his hand out to stop his father and shakes his head.
Daddy, no. It's me, Joey.
Ben wavers even longer this time, his finger frozen on the trigger. Interior, living room, day. The front door bursts open by a half-dozen armed government agents charging in. Interior, master bedroom, day. The loud noise distracts Ben as he looks to the open bedroom door. The boy acts fast and smashes through a nearby window that faces the backyard. Ben dashes for the broken window just as two agents storm in, taking aim at him with sleek, nickel-finished, long-barreled .45 automatics. Ben turns and fires his laser weapon twice. The yellow death rays strike the agents. Their bodies fragment into sand. Ben flees out the window. Exterior, upper-class residential neighborhood, day. Ben runs from around the back of his house, desperately making for a white van parked across the street. The van is equipped with a compact radar dish and radio antennas on its roof. The side door opens and Ben jumps in. Interior, white van, cargo hold, day. Ben sits with 4 men. One of them mans the electronic equipment. The area is open, allowing the driver to be seen.
What took you so damn long?
It takes more than a few minutes when you have to kill your own family.
Sorry, Ben, but we have to make it to the base or we're all dead.
Let's get the hell out of here.
The driver starts the engine and punches it. Exterior, NASA compound, night. The white van crashes through the entrance gate.
There was nothing more impossible than what we had to accomplish next.
A fiery explosion blows up the top level of an office building in the distance. The guards draw their side arms and fire at the fleeing vehicle. The 2 rear tires on the van blow out from direct hits. Exterior, NASA compound, field, night. The crippled van accelerates to top speed as sparks fly from the rear tire rims. Exterior, NASA compound, night. 3 armed paramilitary men stand in front of a huge granite warehouse complex near the burning building. Their faces and clothes marred and blackened by soot. They vigorously beckon the approaching, spark-flying white van to join them. The white van brakes hard in front of the 3 paramilitary men. Ben and his crew jump out and rush to team up with them. Ben straps on a military .45 gun belt.
Did you get it?
Paramilitary man number 1 reaches into a vest pocket and pulls out a pillbox.
We got it, but the rest of the team was killed in the explosion. We're the only ones left now.
He hands it to him, and Ben opens it. Inside is a dime-sized gold CD. Ben closes his eyes in relief.
Thank God.
He shuts the pillbox. A slew of headlights are on the approach. Exterior, NASA compound, field, night. A troop of guards in a cluster of jeeps race toward the warehouse complex. Exterior, warehouse complex, night. Ben inserts his photo ID card into a security door device with 2 overhead video monitors. The left monitor displays Ben's photo ID. An electronic eye above the card slot unit emits a harmless green laser beam that scans Ben's face. The right monitor displays a live view of his face. Authentic match flashes on the LED readout. The giant steel doors unbolt. Ben and his friends rush inside the complex as gunshots are fired by the pursuing guards. Interior, warehouse complex, night. Ben pulls his .45 and fires into a large circuit box. Sparks shoot from the wiring, followed by a small explosion. The steel doors begin to close. Exterior, warehouse complex, night. The armed guards in their jeeps screech to a stop in front of the structure and scatter for the entrance, but are blocked from entering as the indestructible doors seal the entrance. Interior, warehouse complex, night. Ben and his crew run down a long corridor and come up against a small group of armed guards. A rapid exchange of gunfire breaks out, leaving the guards riddled with bullets. Ben and his team run toward a chamber door marked Launch Bay Astronaut Entry. Exterior, behind the warehouse complex, field, night. A larger detachment of guards in more jeeps and vans speed toward the warehouse complex. Exterior, behind the warehouse complex, night. Ear-splitting sirens go off as dozens of yellow whirling caution lights electronically spring up from the ground, forming a gigantic circle around an entire metal surface. The battalion of guards are forced to stop their vehicles. The enormous circular portion of metal ground breaks open as 6 massive triangular sections of steel lift hydraulically. An array of bright lights from the crater shoot into the sky. The ground vibrates with tremendous force, rattling the guards in their vehicles. The 6 triangular sections of steel reach their full extension. A colossal flying saucer gracefully rises out of the mouth of the crater, ascending steadily. A blinding red flash from the belly of the craft propels the ship with ultra speed into the starry sky. End flashback sequence. Exterior, town, day. Ben and the visitor approach the end of the street.
We arrived here 6 months ago. I settled in Sea Meadow. The rest of my friends took their chances in other parts of your world in case they tried hunting us down. Not too long after, I met Sheila and we were married. She was a widow. Rufus is her boy.
They stop in front of the church. A pleasant hymn sung by the congregation inside is heard. Ben turns face to face with the visitor.
My son, he's here now. But before I can deal with him, this town is going to be laid out flat by a herd of beasts, just like Boulder.
The visitor stares at Ben suspiciously.
How did you prevent yourself from eating any of those berries, Ben?
Don't worry, those of us at NASA, that's our space agency, who were subject to frequent space travel were inoculated regularly with thousands of foreign antibodies to fortify our immune system. I did eat the berries, but they didn't eat me.
Huxton crosses the street and approaches the two men.
Well, looks like we're all a bit late for church this morning, huh?
He looks at the long canvas-covered object Ben holds.
What you got there, Ben?
It's a new fishing pole.
Hope you're not thinking of trading a good book in for catfish this morning. You should both be in church, especially today. I know the Reverend is looking to extend everyone's gratitude to you, friend.
Well, really, Sheriff, I don't think it's necessary.
Huxton pats the visitor on the shoulder and nudges him toward the church.
Now, you just let these good folks thank you proper like. Mean a great deal to them. I even have a few words I wrote down myself that I want to say.
Suddenly, a strong rumbling sound in the distance alarms the three men. They all stop and gaze beyond the town. A huge cloud of dust thunders towards Sea Meadow.
Now, what the hell is that, you suppose? Stampede?
That's exactly what it is, Sheriff. A stampede. We gotta act quick. Most everyone's in church right now. You gotta keep them there.
Damn, hasn't been a dull moment around here, seems like forever. What next? Dewey's crazy story about moon people being true?
I wouldn't bet against it. Just go now. Warn the people and keep them indoors.
Huxton runs for the church. Ben unfolds the laser rifle from the canvas sheet.
I'll do better on the rooftops with this. And remember, when you're firing the weapon, the more pressure on the trigger, the longer the beam.
Right. I remember. Think we can stand half a chance?
Won't know till the dust settles. Now hurry, take position.
Interior, church, day. The congregation stands and begins to sing a new hymn. Sheila and Rufus are part of the flock. The doors burst open. Huxton barges in. The singing stops.
Everybody stop and listen to me. There's a stampede heading straight for us. Stay inside. Nobody leaves here till I tell you.
The townsfolk become uneasy and talkative. Exterior, prairie near town, day. Inside the tidal wave of dust, the huge, mutated, claw-like hooves of the charging beasts rip across the ground, almost appearing as hundreds. The big herd of creatures roar so ferociously that total destruction is imminent. Exterior, town, day. Rooftop of mining office. Ben scurries to the front of the building. He gets down on one knee and aligns his weapon, ready to do battle. Interior, church, day. The people crowd around the windows to see what all the excitement is about outside. Exterior, town entrance, day. The terrifying mutant horses hit the city hard, destroying everything in their path. The large archway sign, "Welcome to Sea Meadow City, population peaceful," topples first. Interior, church, day. Panic breaks out among the people watching through the windows. Huxton forces his way through the crowd to get a first-time look at the terror outdoors. His jaws unhinge at the sight of the prehistoric-like horse creatures charging by. Exterior, town, day. Rooftop of mining office. The thunderous stampede spreads wildly below. Ben remains in firing position with his eye locked on the scope of the laser rifle. Through the computerized scope, digital readouts display target size, distance, and speed. Searching accessible target flashes. Ben tightens his grip on the complex weapon. Through the computerized scope, a beast is brought to maximum enlargement by the automatic zoom lens. Open target flashes. Ben's finger engages the heavy-duty trigger. The weapon fires a dazzling silver laser beam and hits the targeted beast. Instant disintegration. Ben continues, hitting the charging creatures with the firepower of his laser rifle. Exterior, town, day. Between the general store and the barber shop, the visitor is in firing position and ceaselessly blasts the yellow laser beam from his pistol at the rushing herd of stoked-up beasts. Exterior, town, day. On the main street, the jetting rounds of yellow and silver laser beams from Ben's and the visitors' weapons blast a half a dozen or more gargantuan creatures, reducing them to dust. Interior, saloon, day. The bartender is busy wiping down the surface of the bar. The vibration of the rumbling stampede shakes the whiskey bottles off the shelves. He is left fretful as the shattered glass piles up. Exterior, town, day. One of the rabid beasts strays from the pack and vaults through the big saloon window. Interior, saloon, day. The window explodes as the beast sails in. The bartender freezes in terror. Exterior, town, day. Ben arrives not a second too soon in front of the shattered saloon window and fires his laser rifle inside. Interior, saloon, day. The silver laser beam zaps the woolly beast as it charges at the bartender and busts through the expansive bar. The monster dissolves in a flash, leaving its mammoth skeletal frame exposed, then crashes down on the floor. The terrified bartender trembles all over as he stares out the broken window at Ben.
Around for the town when this thing's over.
Exterior, town, day. On one side of the street, a few mutant horses trample over the wooden porches of the conjoined buildings, demolishing the storefronts. On the opposite side of the street, the visitor dashes over to a hitching post. He unties the reins of a lone horse, jumps in the saddle, and spurs the animal. He guides the horse up on the wooden porches of the stores to stay clear of Ben's laser fire that sears the ravaging stampede in the middle of the street. The visitor rides fast down the storefronts and fires his laser gun at the creatures, tearing up the shops on the other side. The beasts explode with the impact of powder kegs. Exterior, town, day. The daring newspaper editor rushes out of his office with his trusty camera and frantically sets up the tripod to shoot photographs. Williker suddenly realizes he's forgotten something and quickly returns to his office. A beast swiftly charges by and chomps down with its massive teeth on the tripod, making off with the camera. The excited editor dashes back outside, gripping a flash pen. His enthusiasm fades instantly as his eyes are hit with the news of his missing camera. Poof! The flash pan accidentally goes off in his hand. Williker is left expressionless. Interior, hotel, lobby, day. The front doors crash to the floor. A creature charges inside. A husband and wife come down the staircase and are paralyzed in fear at the sight of the monstrous mutation. The wife screams in horror. The terrifying beast emits a horrific roar and climbs up the staircase after the couple. The husband grabs hold of his wife and forces her rigid body back up the stairs. In his panic, he stumbles and falls a few steps down. He turns to see where the creature is, and the ravenous beast towers over him. The famished animal opens its enormous jaws. Thick, slimy drool runs off its teeth. The wife looks back and screams uncontrollably. The visitor rushes into the hotel a second before the beast devours the husband's head and fires his weapon. The monster explodes into a heap of ashes on the staircase. The husband faints, but safely falls into the bed of ashes. Exterior, behind livery stable, day. An old abandoned stagecoach with boarded up windows rests in a thick layer of weeds. Interior, abandoned stagecoach, day. Dewey is asleep on a ragged seat, snoring away. The decrepit coach begins to rock, waking the groggy vagrant.
Cut it out, Dimplebutt. I gotta get some sleep here.
The coach rocks with greater force. Dewey is shaken off the seat to the floor.
For crying out loud, Dimplebutt. What the hell's going on with you out there?
He gets up and opens the door. A T-Rex-like mutant horse greets him face to face with an earth-shaking roar. Dewey's face turns as white as a ghost. He slams the door, grabs his whiskey bottle off the seat, and takes a long, deserving swig. Exterior, behind livery stable, day. Ben comes around the building and blasts a silver laser beam from his rifle into the creature. Its body decomposes into a mound of gray, burning embers. Interior, abandoned stagecoach, day. Dewey cautiously creeps his head out the door. His horse, Dimplebutt, is there to greet him.
Dimplebutt?
The horse moves in closer to its owner. The animal tries to lick up some booze from Dewey's tightly held whiskey bottle. The old drunk pushes the horse's head away from his precious bottle.
Get away from that. I'd say you had enough. Problem with you is you can't hold your liquor. You turn into a real bear when you drink.
Exterior, town, day. A burly beast crashes through the window of the sheriff's office. Interior, sheriff's office, day. The beast snarls with its frightening reptilian eyes locked on Cabin and Billy, who quickly move their frightened asses up against the back wall of their cells. Their expressions show that they may have lost controls of their bladders.
What the hell is that thing?
Billy's mouth is wide open, but too frightened to speak. The beast slowly advances toward the jail cells.
This is the first time I'm glad to be behind bars.
The beast presses its nose against the bars of Cabin's cell, trying to push through.
Why is he coming to me first? Why doesn't he go to you, damn it?
The frustrated creature bolts high on its hind legs and roars with the intensity of a grizzly. Cabin and Billy now look as though they have completely destroyed their underwear. The beast comes back down on its front legs, then clamps its mighty jaws onto the iron bars of Cabin's cell and bites right through.
Hey, it's getting in. Somebody out there help me! Sheriff! Sheriff! Sheriff!
Sheriff Huxton, help us in here, please. Somebody help us, quick.
The creature sticks its head through the chewed opening in the bars and uses the back of its thick neck to hoist the entire jail door off its hinges.
Help me! Please, somebody help me! Help me!
The powerful beast shakes the jail door off its head and goes after Cabin. The outlaw has its back fused flat against the wall. The savage mutation opens its bloodthirsty mouth, ready to swallow him whole. Cabin shuns his head, terrified.
No!
Billy now sits crumpled in fright in the far front corner of his cell, looking on in horror at Cabin. The beast lunges at Cabin, consuming him from head to waist. Billy turns away, hiding his face in his hands, but hears the awful sounds of teeth gnashing and bones crunching. The bulk of Cabin's body is seen as a huge bulge being digested down the creature's long, leathery neck and into its stomach. The beast turns its eyes to locate Billy and moves to the wall of bars that separate the two jail cells. Billy pries his hands loose from his face to check on the creature's whereabouts. The beast rams its behemoth head against the bars, trying to crush through to Billy. The raging animal chomps down on a cluster of bars with his arsenal of teeth and rips a hole through them. Billy rushes to his bunk. He pulls off the mattress, picks up the bed frame, and repeatedly bashes the animal's long snout with the steel mesh. The beast withdraws its attack. It backs away and roams out of Cabin's cell. Billy remains still as his eyes follow the beast, waiting for the creature's next move. The stalking beast stops at Billy's cell door and sinks its teeth into the bars, eating the iron away in a fury. The frightened young man tosses the bed frame aside and contorts his body through the tight, jagged opening that leads to Cabin's cell. Billy rips his clothes and skin as he desperately tries to wedge himself out of his cell. The frustrated beast stops its chewing and lets out another angry roar. Billy almost clears the serrated hole as his hands touch the floor of Cabin's cell. But in his panic, he accidentally spears his leg on a half-bitten iron bar, trapping himself. The beast stomps into Cabin's cell and advances on Billy. Billy painfully tugs and twists on his impaled bloody leg, but can't free it. The beast now towers over him. Billy gives one more strong yank and rips his leg off the jagged bar. He outwits the beast and scrambles away between its hefty legs. Exterior, town, day. Billy hobbles out of the sheriff's office on his lacerated leg and collapses in the middle of the street. Exterior, town, day. Ben jumps from rooftop to rooftop, then leaps to the roof of the livery stable. He stands on the ledge and spots a wagon piled with haystacks. He jumps and lands safely on them. Exterior, town, day. The seething beast comes out of the sheriff's office after Billy, who musters the extra strength to crawl away, but not quick enough. He turns to see where the creature is. The beast is at his heels. Ben lies flat on the haystacks, lining up his laser rifle on the creature and fires. The snarling beast disintegrates. Its sooty remains disperse in Billy's face. Billy fans away the ashy debris from his eyes, but sees that he's now in the path of another wave of the roaring stampede. His exhaustion slows his attempt to crawl to safety. Ben hops off the hay wagon and takes cover underneath it. He lies on his chest and fires his weapon, shooting an elongated laser beam close to the ground near Billy. The silvery beam hits the sheriff's office and the entire building disintegrates instantaneously, leaving only the cell bars and the furnishings intact. Ben controls the scintillating beam to continuously project from the muzzle of his weapon, creating a laser tripwire. The herd of mutant horses are about to pulverize Billy, but the pack of beasts combusts one by one as their husky legs come in contact with the streaming laser beam. All that's left is a cloud of burning embers that dissipate over Billy. Ben crawls out from under the hay wagon. He stops and hears the thunder of more mutant horses in the distance. He looks out past the entrance of town and sees another cloud of dust spread wide and rolling in. Ben runs to Billy, pulls up the helpless youth, and stands him on his feet.
Hurry! Run!
Billy quickly limps away to safety. A stray mutant horse bolts out from between the barber shop and the general store, charging after Ben. Ben turns, but it's too late for him to take aim. The beast rams him. The laser rifle flies out of his hands as he violently tumbles back. The beast momentarily rests, but keeps its stalking eyes on him. Just then, Dewey and his horse walk out into the open, coming from around the side of the gambling hall, directly across the street. He's still in his spacesuit, but this time proudly shows off a half-dozen war medals pinned to it and wears a tattered old cavalry hat. Ben, dazed, begins moving. The beast growls. Ben gets to his hands and knees and tightens his arm around his ribcage in pain as he stares at the creature. The beast begins to stride over to Ben. Dewey acts quickly. He grabs a handkerchief from his saddlebag, shoves it into the whiskey bottle he grips, and lights it.
Hey, you ugly mother of Satan, look at me when I'm talking to you.
The beast stops and turns around to Dewey. It releases a wrathful roar and charges at him.
That's right, come to Papa.
Ben painfully staggers to his feet, keeping his fearful eyes on Dewey.
Have a drink on me.
He throws his Molotov cocktail at the creature that's nearly upon him. The whiskey bottle explodes against the beast's head and bursts into flames. Dewey dashes out of the way, pulling Dimplebutt with him. The burning beast cries out horrendously. It runs amok and crashes through a storefront window. Hank's Mercantile and Dynamite. The store blows up in a monumental explosion. Ben smiles and shakes his head in disbelief. He contends with his pain and hurriedly retrieves his laser rifle. The last bombardment of beasts roar into town and charge up the street. Ben takes a bold stance at the edge of town. He raises his laser rifle and affixes his eye to the scope.
All right, you Kentucky Derby rejects. Welcome to the winner's circle.
He engages his weapon and blasts its firepower wildly upon the monstrous horses. The visitor joins the final battle and rushes into the middle of the street behind the terrorizing mutations and hits them with a salvo of laser power from his pistol. The remaining stampede is caught in a barrage of silver and yellow laser fire, vaporizing their dinosaur-like hides. Ben stands his ground, frantically eliminating as many creatures as he can before he's trampled over. A dense cloud of dust from the stampede engulfs him. The visitor looks on with hopelessness for his friend as it appears Ben's been savagely crushed. The thunderous noise from the stampede ends, and only the sound of the fading wind is heard. The thick blanket of dust settles, and Ben remains standing, weary but unharmed. The visitor, overjoyed, rushes over to him.
You're one piece.
Ben still works at steadying himself.
I wouldn't know.
The two exhausted victors grip each other's shoulders for physical support and laugh in relief. Interior, church, day. Everyone is dead quiet. Huxton stands at a window.
Sounds like it's over, but don't anyone move yet.
He sticks his head out the window, looking up the street. He sees Ben and the visitor walking toward the church.
I think it's safe out there now.
Exterior, church, day. Huxton's head remains out the window as he continues to watch the two men, but then senses something and looks to his other side. He makes eye contact with the boy, who aims his laser pistol between his eyes.
Life's like a bad poker hand, Sheriff. It's your turn to fold.
Interior, church, day. Huxton, still bent out the window, carefully reaches for his gun. A whisking discharge is heard from the boy's weapon. The sheriff's grip freezes on the butt of his pistol. The lawman's knees buckle and his body collapses over the sill. His hand falls limply from his gun, fingers twitching. Exterior, church, day. The boy walks past the window and kicks a mound of beige powder on the ground. Interior, church, day. Two townsmen come to the sheriff's aid, grab hold of his body and pull him inside. The body is headless. Screams ricochet throughout the church. The two shocked townsmen drop Huxton's body. The petrified townsfolk cram through the front doors to escape. Exterior, town, day. The mob of people storm out of the church. The boy stands nearby in the middle of the street, ready to annihilate the crowd with his laser weapon. Ben runs towards the congregation.
Keep away from that boy. Don't get near him. Everybody get back. Get back. No, I'm here. Stop. Stop.
Sheila holds onto Rufus's hand as she rushes along with the crowd. The boy pushes through the swarm of people and grabs hold of Rufus's other hand. He yanks Rufus from his mother's grip and hurriedly pulls him out of the crowd.
Rufus!
The boy has Rufus in a firm arm lock and holds his laser pistol defensively in his other hand, ready to fire at anyone who interferes. Sheila swiftly cuts through the throng of people trying to get to her son. The visitor arrives just in time. He pushes aside a few citizens and grabs hold of Sheila. She struggles to break away as the townspeople finally clear the street.
Let me go, that boy's got Rufus!
Listen to me. You can't go near that boy. He's capable of destroying this whole town. You have no idea who he is and where he's from.
But Rufus, he's got Rufus!
We'll get him back, I promise you. Just trust me.
The boy holds the muzzle of his weapon to Rufus's head. Ben keeps a fair distance from the boy, but has him covered with his laser rifle.
Let Rufus go. He's just a harmless little boy. He's no threat to you.
I'd have to be crazy to want to hurt Rufus. We're friends. Just toss your weapon away and let him go.
Ben hesitates.
I said toss it.
He turns his laser gun on Ben and fires. The beam blasts a large hole under his feet. Ben loses a grip on his weapon as he drops into the hole up to his chest. His laser rifle lands on top of the ground before him.
At least they won't have to waste time burying you.
Rufus breaks from the boy's relaxed grip and dashes away. The boy turns his laser gun on Rufus.
Rufus!
He's ready to fire at him. Ben quickly reaches out of the hole and grabs his laser rifle from the ground. The boy spins his aim back on Ben. They fire simultaneously at each other. The two intense laser beams strike head-on, bursting their lustrous rays of energy into spear-like laser shards that splinter all about. Ben ducks into his hole to avoid getting struck by the shower of incinerating laser sparks. In a moment, the laser fireworks are over. Ben cautiously rises from the hole, glued to his weapon. He pauses strangely as he stares ahead at his son. The boy's expression is placid, his body languid. He has a hole the size of a poker chip cleared through his abdomen, glowing with a reddish hue. The boy's arms go limp at his side. His laser pistol drops from his hand. Ben climbs out of the hole and gets to his feet.
I don't know what's happening to me.
Ben starts toward the boy. Across the street, Sheila holds Rufus safely in her arms. They stand with the visitor, watching closely at the outcome between Ben and his son.
I'm afraid.
The boy's frail hand reaches out to Ben, displaying human emotion for the first time. Ben rushes faster and extends his hand out in hopes of connecting with his son.
Dad, I don't want to die. Help me.
Ben feels his son's heartfelt sincerity as he squeezes the boy's hand in his, but the helpless child disintegrates into a fine, grainy sand. Ben opens his clenched fist. The boy's last remains pour away between his fingers. The visitor leaves Sheila and Rufus to join Ben at his side. Ben stands, motionless and tearful.
Marion and Joey, my wife and son, I killed them both.
It's over, Ben. That's all that matters now. You still have a family waiting for you.
No, they have to be told who I am now. Things couldn't possibly be the same ever again.
What are you gonna do?
Go back. I can't allow the fate of your civilization to suffer the living nightmare mine did.
Rufus dashes into the street, eager to reach his father. Sheila follows behind, anxious to be reunited with her husband. Rufus lands in Ben's arms and is scooped up and hugged tightly. Ben puts Rufus down to share a long and loving embrace with his wife. Rufus takes hold of the visitor's hand with a smile. The visitor brings the kid in for a hug.
I knew everything would be okay if you came back.
Well, your father's the real hero of this adventure, believe me.
That boy was my friend. Why was he going to hurt everybody?
The visitor looks to Ben, with his wife still in his arms. Ben nods, giving the visitor his consent to tell Rufus the incredible story. The visitor places his arm around Rufus' shoulders as they take a stroll away from Ben and Sheila.
You see, Rufus, your father, well, he's a very extraordinary man.
Dewey returns and leads his horse by the reins into a street toward Ben and Sheila. Ben breaks from Sheila's embrace to face Dewey.
Great work, Dewey. You saved my life.
Dewey raises his cavalry hat to Ben.
I'll see you around.
Ben and Sheila walk away with their arms around each other. Something begins to stir in the mound of the boy's remains as it drills its way to the top. Dewey looks on ahead and watches the townspeople cautiously return to the main street, chattering about what happened. The spidery creature that invaded the boy's mind emerges from his remains. The mutant insect doubles in size every second as it scampers toward Dewey from behind. Dimplebutt rears up and nickers loudly, pawing away with her hooves at it. Dewey turns and sees the now piglet-sized arachnid and can't believe his eyes. Dimplebutt courageously comes down hard on the multi-legged creature, flattening its splayed guts repeatedly with her hoof.
That's twice now, Dimplebutt. You saved my life on the battlefield.
He gives his horse a hug and a kiss on her muzzle. He then removes his cavalry hat, puts it on Dimplebutt, and cinches the tie string around her neck.
You're the real hero, girl.
Finally, the town has a look of restored normalcy. Exterior, forest area, clearing. Days later, day. The hour is nearing sunset. The visitor wears a sheriff's badge and stands together with Sheila and Rufus. Also standing close by is Dewey, who is clean, sober, and shaven. He wears new clothes, a snazzy cowboy hat, a .45 gun belt, and a shiny deputy's badge. He holds onto Dimplebutt by her reins. They're all looking dead ahead. Ben is suited up in his well-worn metallic, bronze-colored spacesuit. He stands at the entrance of the boys' spaceship, its ramp extended to the ground. The visitor leaves Sheila and Rufus' side and walks up the ship's ramp to Ben.
I don't think I'll ever really believe any of this once you're gone.
Well, without your help, there wouldn't have been any left to remember. You're a true friend.
The only thing I can think of to say right now is I never did tell you my name.
You're Sheriff Shay Blaze.
Thanks, Ben.
I contacted them. They said they won't invade this planet so long as I return.
Why do they want you so badly?
Ben unzips his right breast pocket and pulls out a pillbox. He opens it and removes the dime-sized gold CD. He places it on the palm of the visitor's hand.
We have weapons in space called satellites that defend our planet. They fire fantastic energy called nuclear power. That little thing contains the information needed to control their guidance systems, and they want it back. It's my bargaining chip, let's say.
You can't trust them. They'll kill you as soon as you land.
That's why you can have that as a souvenir.
He unzips his left breast pocket, removes another pillbox, and opens it to reveal an identical tiny gold CD.
I made a duplicate and, of course, modified the data a little with revised coordinates. This will turn the tables on them along with all those nuclear weapons. You don't want them coming here. This is the only way to exterminate them permanently.
How will we ever know if you were successful?
You'll know.
He closes a pillbox and zips it back into his pocket.
Shay, one more thing. Rufus and Sheila. He thinks the world of you, and she would feel so much safer having you around. What I'm trying to say is, it's okay with me.
Stumped for words, the visitor nods understandingly. Ben looks to Dewey.
Dewey, I hope you're not too terribly upset about having to give me back my suit. I thought I buried it pretty good in the beach when I got here. I'm just glad you found it for me.
Dewey raises his hat to Ben.
You take care, Ben. I knew there were moon people.
Ben and the visitor share one more laugh.
I reckon it's time to go.
Don't worry about Sheila and Rufus. No harm will ever come to them. You can count on me.
Thanks.
The two men shake hands for the last time. The visitor turns and walks down the ramp. He takes his place with Sheila and Rufus. They move a safe distance away from the spaceship, including Dewey and Dimplebutt. Ben waves farewell to his family and friends. The ramp retracts into the ship, and Ben disappears as the door slides shut. Its engines engage and the saucer begins vibrating. The ship rises off the ground with the flotation of a hummingbird. Its landing gear folds into the craft. The spaceship quickly ascends into the beautiful rich maroon sky and rides off into the sunset. The visitor, Sheila, Rufus, and Dewey watch the flying saucer sail beyond view. Exterior, farmhouse, porch, night. Super, 6 months later. The visitor and Rufus sit on a couple of chairs next to each other, looking out at the sky. The stars are bigger and brighter than ever.
Think you'll ever get around to finishing another book?
Well, Rufus, this sheriff business keeps me pretty busy. Yep, sweeping the floors, washing down the cells, changing the linen, oiling the guns. Yep, keeps me pretty busy. Guess people are still a bit scared to visit, see, meadow. Even the bad guys never come around anymore.
That's because you're a sheriff.
Guess I could concentrate on one more book.
Oh boy.
Interior, farmhouse, kitchen, night. Sheila fixes a pot of coffee and heats it on the stove. Exterior, farmhouse, porch, night.
Well, you better pack it in, kid. School tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
He stands and starts for the door.
Tell your ma I'll wait for her outside to say goodnight.
Okay.
Suddenly, a strange phenomenon occurs. The sky bursts into a kaleidoscope of colors, whirling with intensity. The visitor gets up and rushes to the edge of the porch to look out at the blazing sky. Rufus quickly runs to his hero's side for protection. The heavenly pageantry of colors concludes with the grandiose explosion of white light, turning night into day for several seconds. Then, in an instant, the night is restored to normal, lit only by the stars. Sheila rushes out of the house.
What was that?
She clings to the visitor for safety with one arm and wraps her other around her son.
Yeah, Shay. What was that?
The visitor continues to look out at the luminous sky in great wonder. Then the answer hits him.
It was your father.
Huh?
The visitor looks to Rufus and Sheila.
Ben. He said I would know if you beat them. He did. All of us will be safe now. It's over. It's finally over.
He hugs Sheila, and the two are drawn to kiss on the lips. They break away and smile at each other.
I have fresh coffee in the stove. I'll bring it up.
She returns inside. The visitor gives Rufus a hearty pat on the back with a smile. He then looks out at the stars, still reeling from Sheila's kiss.
You know something, Rufus?
What?
I think it's time I had a new adventure.
Really? Great! Who are you going after? The Westchester Minister? Light Mo Ammo? Powder Keg Ned?
The visitor turns to Rufus.
Nope. I'm going into the house to ask my mother to marry me.
Rufus's roused expression withers in a second as the visitor heads for the door.
Wait, you can't do that. If you get married, my mom will never let you go on another adventure.
The visitor is under the spell of love and enters the house without a look back.
Shay!
He rushes into the house to rescue his hero. The screen door slams shut.
Shay, come back!
Fade out.